Chapter 1383. Broken Country, North Pole Mountain Range. The crater created by Lu Kuan had disappeared, and was replaced by an immortal cave embedded in the cliff of the abyss. This immortal cave was very simple. Behind the stone door was a 100-zhang-wide hall made of rocks. There were no restrictions on the walls, and they were dotted with golden light, as if gold ore was embedded inside. Lu Kuan and Hong Yuntian stood in the hall. On the ground, there were 11 tall demon corpses, 4 demon emperors, 6 demon kings, and 1 fake demon emperor. Some of these demon corpses were motionless, while some were slightly undulating. It seemed that half of them were alive, but their bodies were wrapped in a layer of fishnet-like golden net. In the center of the hall, a 1-foot-tall purple-black demon infant was suspended in the air. The air around it was slightly distorted, and 2 tyrannical divine senses containing violent and unyielding willpower were wrapped around it. After a while, the soul aura inside the demon infant dissipated, and a brutal willpower spread out. A golden blood mist appeared out of thin air and condensed into a blood ball. Lu Kuan held this small ball in his hand and frowned. After our divine senses fused, not only did we have 2 kinds of willpower, but we also surpassed the divine senses of early deity stage experts. But we still couldn't find any useful information. Hong Yuntian snorted and said, "I already told you that the souls of demons are different from those of humans. Those below Demon King level are affected by the true demon contract. Once the soul is searched, the soul will collapse. And for Demon King level existences, their souls will either be destroyed in battle, or most of their memories will be hidden in their corpses. If the soul could be searched so easily, Yuan School would have a lot of information about demons long ago." Lu Kuan waved his hand, and a stone box made of dragon-severing stone appeared before him. He placed the soulless demonic nascent soul into the box, then used his blood to reinforce the seal before stowing it away. Then, he looked at the 11 corpses on the ground and asked, "Yuan School didn't find any other way?" Hong Yuntian closed his eyes and recalled for a moment, then slowly said, "When the first demon war ended, my cultivation was still shallow and I hadn't become an elder of Yuan School. Later, I heard the elders of the school mention that the demon race's soul concealment method is somewhat similar to the bloodline memory of top demon beasts." "Bloodline memories?" Hong Yuntian nodded and said, "According to what the elders said, after an existence above Devil King is captured alive, the bloodline in their body will absorb their divine soul. These divine souls hidden in the bloodline can exist for a very long time, far exceeding their normal lifespan." Lu Kuan couldn't help but think of the Fiend Demon King, who had escaped from the Fiend Demon Island and was refined into a devil soul pill by Old Devil Pang. He had heard from Old Devil Pang that there were other devil souls that had escaped, but they were also refined into devil soul pills by the blood refining sect. The reason why the devil soul could survive for tens of thousands of years was probably related to this strange secret technique hidden in the bloodline. Moreover, on the Demon Island, the divine souls of the other 2 devil emperors had already dissipated. However, the soul of a devil king like Heisha had actually survived. Perhaps he had borrowed some other power. Hong Yuntian continued. Later, Yuan School developed the Yuan Jade Pendant and used various methods to lure the devil soul out of the body and capture it. But these devil souls that had left the bloodline seemed to have lost contact with their original body. They could only seize a new body. Moreover, the devil souls that had infiltrated the bloodline were planted with some kind of restriction. Forcibly searching their soul would cause them to directly perish. After repeated attempts by Yuan School, unless the 5 viscera and 6 bowels of the Devil King were destroyed, these remnant souls would remain in the bloodline. Later, because of my good progress in Devil Corpse body refining technique, Taishang Elder left behind a lot of high-level devil corpses. Lu Kuan revealed a look of understanding. No wonder Yuan School developed the Yuan Jade Pendant. On one hand, it was used to prevent the devil souls from seizing the body, and on the other hand, It was used to capture the remnant souls inside the devil corpses. Then he pondered for a moment and said, "In the past, when we were studying the path of body refining, we had already discovered that the viscera were extremely important to the devil emperors. They were the key to the devil race's bloodline, just like Zhang Yuan body refining technique." Hong Yuntian glanced at Lu Kuan and said, "You have successfully broken through to Zhang Yuan body refining technique and also manifested the vision of the human race's bloodline. The strength of your bloodline has completely surpassed those of the top monster race. Yuan school is helpless against the devil bloodline, but you may be able to solve it. Moreover, I feel that the study of these devil souls has great reference value to the bloodline inheritance of body refining that you had previously guessed." Lu Kuan gently nodded. He glanced at the devil corpses on the ground and suddenly said, "More than 80 years ago, the female devil king's dantian was broken by us, and her nascent soul was forcibly crushed. Her spirit dissipated into nothingness. Previously, when we explored the devil fog and used the 2 heads and 4 arms, 3 heads and 6 arms to fight, we used the swirling light to suck out the spirit of the devil kings and devil emperors." Hong Yuntian frowned and said, "You want to use the swirling light to extract their remnant souls, but I feel that you should try to explore their bloodline memories. After all, you have a bloodline primordial spirit that has never appeared in the Xiuxian world. Don't worry. It's rare to catch so many devil kings alive. Let's try the swirling light first." Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and slowly said, "This magical power operates the source force field in a different way. Its inspiration comes from the formation of the internal organs and dantian, and it has the effect of absorbing spirit. However, when we used it with 2 heads and 4 arms, the frequency and method inside is somewhat chaotic." "Chaotic?" Hong Yuntian showed a puzzled look. At this time, Lu Kuan had already stretched out his hands, palms facing each other, and the distorted force field in front of him rotated in front of him. Soon, it formed a golden funnel with 2 openings, and the invisible force field collapsed towards the middle, exuding a terrifying suction force. The surrounding devil spirit Yuan Qi gathered inwards, and the air rippled with turbulent power. The whole cave was shaking, and the devil corpses on the ground were also strongly attracted. Lu Kuan closed his eyes, as if he was sensing something. His palms flipped, and his arms trembled as he pulled them apart. The golden funnel with 2 openings trembled slightly before separating. A golden funnel appeared on the left, while a vortex the size of a watermelon appeared on the right. The air inside the vortex was twisting at an extremely high speed, exuding a deep pitch-black light. Lu Kuan's left hand loosened, and the golden funnel collapsed. At the same time, the rampaging devil spirit Yuan Qi in the cave suddenly calmed down, and the devil corpses floating in the air also fell to the ground with a plop. Only the pitch-black vortex remained in the air. It was quiet, as if it was silently devouring something. Hong Yuntian, who was standing to the side, only glanced at it for a moment before feeling his soul tremble, as if it was about to leave his body. He hurriedly circulated his physical body and divine sense, hiding it in his spine. He then retreated 100 feet or so, using his unyielding will to suppress the trembling of his soul. He raised his head and looked at the ordinary-looking, pitch-black vortex with a horrified expression. At this moment, Lu Kuan's left hand made a grabbing motion, and the devil corpses that belonged to the demon infant floated in front of him. The pitch-black vortex happened to be right above its head. What was strange was that the vortex did not seem to have any power. The devil corpse's scales did not even move. Then, the vortex gradually moved down to the neck, shoulders, and when it enveloped the chest, a ghostly purple devil face was forcibly pulled out. It twisted and trembled, as if it was trying to resist the suction of the vortex. "There really is." Lu Kuan opened his mouth slightly and spat out a cloud of golden blood mist. This blood mist ignored the black vortex that attacked the soul and seeped into the devil corpses. It wrapped around the distorted devil corpses and turned into a ball of blood that flew back. Then, the pitch-black vortex disappeared without a trace, and the soul-sucking power in the air also dissipated. Hong Yuntian immediately felt the pressure on him lessen greatly. He said with a hint of amazement in his voice, "Lu Kuan, your swirling light seems to be different from last time." Lu Kuan looked at the ball of blood in front of him and smiled. "When we first used the swirling light with 2 heads and 4 arms, we discovered that this divine ability was able to suck in souls. Its effect was similar to when I forcefully sucked out the souls of pseudo-soul formation stage cultivators from the vital chi of heaven and earth when I made a breakthrough to the viscera essence stage. Aside from that, the technique of the origin power vortex was also added to it. Now that I've officially made a breakthrough to the viscera essence stage and possess the power of 2 essences, I have a clearer understanding of this divine ability. I discovered that the terrifying suction force and the small-scale yuan sealing domain are 2 different rotation methods and frequencies compared to the divine ability that sucks in souls. Rotation methods and frequencies. Lu Kuan sighed. That's right. If it weren't for the use of the berserk divine ability, which gave me a new understanding of the reverse compression of the physical body's origin power, I'm afraid I wouldn't have thought of this point. When the origin power field rotates at a low frequency, it manifests a terrifying suction force of more than 2 million kilograms and possesses powerful control over yuan qi. The higher the frequency, the stronger the power. The origin power vortex of the bone transformation stage is used in this way. But if it collapses in the opposite direction, it can produce the effect of sucking in souls and wills. The higher the frequency, the stronger the suction force on souls. When we used the swirling light earlier, we forcefully mixed these 2 methods together. Although it has 2 divine abilities at the same time, neither of these characteristics were fully utilized. It should be like what I did just now, separating the swirling light. The one that rotates in the opposite direction is called the swirling golden light, and the one that collapses in the opposite direction at a high frequency is called the soul-sucking vortex. However, this kind of reverse collapse seems to be something that can only be displayed after the origin power field reaches the level of unyuan power. As he spoke to this point, a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. From the situation just now, the suction force produced by the soul-sucking vortex doesn't affect anything other than souls. What exactly is the principle behind this? For some reason, Lu Kuan thought of gravity. He had always regarded the physical body's origin power as a variant of gravity, but now that it had collapsed in the opposite direction, it actually produced a force that targeted souls. Souls had no mass, or rather, they were very light. He had a vague feeling that this special power, origin power, seemed to contain the essence of some kind of power, and would have an extremely important effect on the future realm of body cultivators. Hong Yuntian didn't know what he was thinking, but he was surprised by the use of the physical body's origin power. Even at the Zongyuan stage, the origin power field can still change like this. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. The power possessed by body cultivators is always changing. Low-level body cultivators combine their physical strength with the 5 elements to resist the spells and magic treasures of low-level immortal cultivators. High-level body cultivators possess the physical body's origin power, and use this special power to resist the power of a nascent soul. And when the physical body's origin power reaches the level of 2 million kilograms, not only can it control origin chi, it can also collapse in the opposite direction, affecting the soul. Hearing these words, Hong Yuntian seemed to have understood something. It seems that as their strength increases, body cultivators gradually approach the essence of some kind of power. This kind of power is completely different from traditional immortal cultivators. Lu Kuan also had the same feeling in his heart. Then, he buried all kinds of thoughts in his heart and smiled. Let's first study the mysteries of the demon race's cultivation. Let's see what kind of special restrictions are placed on the soul that was forcefully extracted. After he finished speaking, he suspended the ball of blood in front of him and merged it with Hong Yuntian's unyielding consciousness, and poured it into the soul that was being sucked out by the soul-sucking vortex. When they began to search the soul began to tremble. The illusory demon face lit up with a totem pattern made of a special ring. Accompanied by a deep bloodline aura, the soul exploded and dissipated into nothingness. Chapter 1384. That restriction aura just now seems to belong to a powerful demon bloodline. Hong Yuntian's eyes flashed with surprise. When Yuan School was studying the devil soul, he was cultivating the devil zombie body refining technique and was not qualified to participate. Now that he felt it up close, he found that the restriction aura that obliterated the devil soul was somewhat similar to the true demon bloodline in his body. It even made him shudder. Lu Kuan looked serious. He also felt the pressure of that bloodline. The berserk bloodline in his body was agitated, as if it had encountered a powerful opponent. He said in a dignified tone, "When those demons saw the true demon lines you manifested, they said that it was a high-grade blood mark. This bloodline, I'm afraid it is a high-grade bloodline of the demon race?" Hong Yuntian said thoughtfully, "It seems that this restriction is a bloodline restriction of a high-grade demon powerhouse?" Lu Kuan looked at the lifeless body of the demon king under his feet and said with shining eyes, "Or it can be said that it is a bloodline magical ability that protects the soul. As long as the body is intact and the internal organs are intact, the demon king can use this magical ability to hide most of the soul in the bloodline and wait for an opportunity to seize the body. If the remnant soul is caught, it will directly disappear under the influence of the bloodline restriction, ensuring that the secret will not be leaked." Hong Yuntian murmured, "How is a high-grade demon bloodline tied to the soul? Do demons also have a bloodline primordial spirit?" Lu Kuan said with some excitement, "Such a strange magical ability, find a way to find out. I will try to control a body first." Speaking until here, the source energy outside his body surged, and the body of the female demon king on the ground floated over under the binding of an invisible force. He stretched out his left hand and directly pinched the neck wrapped in purple-black scales. Then, he closed his eyes and the berserk bloodline in his body surged. Clouds of golden blood mist gushed out of his palm and flowed into the back of the neck. The monstrous power of qi and blood rose around his body, as if mobilizing all the blood in his body. This blood mist entered the neck and spread to the skull and spine. It followed the nervous network of the body inside and entered the brain, internal organs, blood vessels, bones, and muscles. A golden network that was as dense as capillaries filled the she-devil's body at an astonishing speed. During the previous battle, the reason why Lu Kuan's flesh child was able to temporarily control the Devil King's body was because he had repeatedly studied the structure of the Devil King's body. Furthermore, the Devil King's body was 60% similar to that of a human's, so the nervous system was relatively easy to invade. Now, when Lu Kuan injected a large amount of violent essence blood into this demon body through his flesh and divine sense, he discovered that the internal organs and nerves of the demon race were 80% similar to those of the human race. The most important difference was that the demon organs and the brain had a unique nerve connection. With such close similarities, could there be some special relationship between the human and demon clans? An absurd thought flashed through his mind. Then, he focused on eroding the body's nerve. A moment later, the half-dead she-devil opened her eyes. A trace of golden light flashed through them. Her legs that were hanging on the ground stood up as if she had come back to life. A strange voice came from the she-devil's mouth. "Brother Hong, you're right. When the Devil King's remnant soul hid in the bloodline, he completely lost this body. The erosion of the nerves of the body just now was not hindered in the slightest." Seeing this scene, Hong Yuntian was somewhat surprised. "Your flesh child's divine sense can completely control the body?" Lu Kuan's main body closed his eyes and stood motionless. The she-devil's head shook up and down as she nodded. Then, she took a step forward and started running in the hall. At first, her posture was somewhat stiff, but soon became flexible. She even pulled out a series of afterimages. Accompanied by the sound of breaking air, the Devil King's body flashed, punched, kicked, and spun, just like a real devil. After a while, the she-devil's body stopped and said, "Without the adjustment of the divine soul, the vitality of the body has decreased." Then, Lu Kuan said in a strange tone, "The Devil King's body has completed the integration, but the method seems to be different from ours. Also, I can't feel the aura of the source energy." Hearing this, Hong Yuntian looked at the fake Devil Emperor's body on the ground and said slowly, "Although I can't completely devour the fake Devil Emperor's body, I can feel that the source energy of the body is closely related to the demon energy." Demon energy? He analyzed. The 5 elements body refining art uses qi, blood, and demonic energy to refine bone treasures and complete the body. My body refining art refines the body of a demonic zombie. The demonic race should use demonic energy to refine the entire body. Your body's source energy relies on the bone treasure to perform. Mine is spread through the qi and blood demon energy. The devil race should be the demon energy. Lu Kuan looked down at the she-devil's chest and said, "There's still some demon energy left in her internal organs, but the nerves of the body can't be controlled. It's very likely that it's controlled through the divine soul's demon energy. It seems that the Devil King's body refining art is quite different from that of a body cultivator. I just don't know if the Devil Emperor's body refining art is different." At this point, he frowned and said, "We still have to find a way to search for their divine soul. What are you going to do?" Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, "This body is completely under my control. First, I'll expel all the blood from its body." As he spoke, the female devil zombie came to the side of his body. The blood in her body flowed, her strong arms and full chest began to shrink, and even her internal organs were the same. Traces of purplish-black blood gushed out of her mouth. Under the effect of the source energy field of Lu Kuan's body, it floated in the air and gradually gathered into a ball of blood. There were still some purplish-black lightning lingering inside. The remaining demon energy is flowing out of the internal organs, but there seems to be a special blood pattern inside. Lu Kuan's expression suddenly became serious. He found that there was still a lot of blood left in the depths of the devil organs, and it also emitted a special bloodline aura. The blood intertwined in the internal organs, forming a special totem pattern that was completely free of the nerve. If he hadn't extracted the blood from the internal organs, he wouldn't have been able to find it. "Brother Hong, check this devil blood." Lu Kuan threw the ball of blood to Hong Yuntian, then calmed down and felt the special pattern in the internal organs. First, he found that he couldn't penetrate the devil blood. When his body and divine sense, which contained a violent will, approached, the devil blood seemed to be threatened and trembled violently, as if it would collapse in the next moment. At the same time, the Devil Queen's forehead lit up with a crisscrossing totem. Lu Kuan withdrew his body and divine sense, and said in surprise, "This blood pattern is exactly the same as the totem pattern that appeared when the Devil Soul dissipated. In other words, this Devil Queen and the Devil King just now are restricted by the same high-level bloodline?" At this time, Hong Yuntian finished inspecting the ball of blood and said, "There is no bloodline aura or divine soul in this devil blood. The divine soul is still in the devil organs." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "It seems that the key is this blood pattern in the devil organs. Blood can't penetrate it, divine sense can't get close, and it can't be easily destroyed. If it was in the dantian of the internal organs, I might be able to see the fine structure. But the Devil King's internal organs aren't strong enough to withstand the collapse of the full nascent power. Also, if I force it, I'm afraid it will be like the soul-absorbing whirlpool just now, and directly suck out the remnant soul." Hearing this, Hong Yuntian was silent for a moment and said, "What if you swallow the Devil King's internal organs?" Swallow? The Devil Queen under Lu Kuan's control was stunned. "Although my blood has the characteristics of blood and devil qi, it can't swallow the Devil King's body like you can." Lu Kuan's flesh clone divine sense was very different from Hong Yuntian's flesh clone divine sense. The former used an extremely powerful bloodline, divine sense, and divine sense to invade the nervous system of the Devil King's body and control it. But Hong Yuntian's flesh clone divine sense used blood and devil qi to swallow and refine the Devil King's body. However, with his mid-stage devil transformation divine sense, he could only control late-stage devil generals at most. He couldn't swallow fake devil emperors and devil kings. Hong Yuntian shook his head and said, "It's not swallowing, it should be called wrapping. Condense your own internal organs into a ball, leaving a space in the middle, and wrap the Devil Queen's internal organs and the blood patterns in it into the ball." Lu Kuan suddenly said, "That's a good idea. The soul-absorbing characteristic of the collapse of the origin force field will be blocked by my internal organs. I can give it a try." Then, his flesh clone divine sense turned into a ball of golden blood and returned to his body. Then, his hands turned into claws and reached for the Devil Queen's chest, tearing open her shriveled chest and revealing the devil heart behind it. At this time, Lu Kuan's chest had also been opened. Under the effect of the invisible force field, the devil heart that had lost its luster entered his body. The snow soul dual sabers wrapped around the ball of innards and opened up a hole, allowing the demon innards to enter. Chapter 1385. Lu Kuan's body swelled to 9 feet tall, and he sensed the internal organ ball that completely wrapped the demon organ. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and the twisting force field around him suddenly disappeared into his body. Boom! Accompanied by a roar, his internal organs and dantian were revealed, but this sound was accompanied by the sound of flesh and blood shattering. Lu Kuan's face changed slightly. Although he only used the power of 1 yuan, the withered Demon King's internal organs still couldn't bear it and directly turned into a pool of blood. However, when his physical body and consciousness entered the internal dantian, he was suddenly stunned. The internal organs island, blood essence sea, and bloodline pool inside were all very normal. The only difference was that above the bloodline pool, there was an exquisite purple-black rune floating. Not only is the demon race's bloodline ability not damaged, but the internal dantian has also revealed it. Lu Kuan was pleasantly surprised. Under his perception, the rune that hid and protected the Demon King's remnant soul was magnified countless times, and he could see the details inside clearly. The smallest unit of this demon rune was a hexagonal structure. Each side of the hexagonal structure was a bone spur-like particle, while the 6 corners were purple-black light spot. These hexagonal figures, with the purple-black light spots as the connection points, intertwined to form a large and small ring structure, a bit like a beehive. On the ring of the beehive, there was a layer of lavender light that emitted a terrifying soul fluctuation. Lu Kuan didn't pay any attention to this soul. Instead, he carefully observed the structure of the smallest rune. The bone spur particles in the hexagonal shape are the demon race's bloodline origin. This unique structure, is it the demon race's high-level bloodline rune? But what connects these bone spur particles is not the true demon intent, but this purple-black light spot. Its aura. Why is it exactly the same as the demon organ yuan? Lu Kuan was stunned. After entering the viscera stage, he could extract 2 special energies from the blood essence through the double helix bloodline rune, the demon organ yuan and the spirit organ yuan. At that time, he found that the demon organ yuan and the demon emperor's energy were somewhat similar. Now, this purple-black particle embedded in the high-level demon bloodline ability had the same aura as the demon viscera origin. Is demon viscera origin the bloodline energy of a higher-level demon? How is it related to the Demon Emperor's energy? Lu Kuan looked at the hexagonal rune again and couldn't help but ponder. It should be the basic bloodline rune of the high-level demon race. It looks similar to Brother Hong's true demon rune, but the latter has merged with the bloodline origin of the human race and is in a standard round shape. The former is a simple bone spur that can only form a polygonal shape. My double helix bloodline runes, and even my former strength runes, were formed by connecting the bloodline origin particles through mental bonds. There's no true demon intent in this high-level demon race bloodline, but it's connected through the demon viscera. Is it because the high-level demons don't have bloodline wills, or does the transformation of bloodline divine abilities have to be performed through the demon viscera? Lu Kuan was silent for a while, then suppressed his doubts and continued to sense. The entire bloodline rune radiates a special wave that constantly acts on the Demon King's remnant soul. The two seem to have a close connection. If I forcibly extract the soul, it seems to cause other changes. If I want to thoroughly search the soul, I have to take drastic measures and first disintegrate this rune. At this time, Lu Kuan's mind suddenly moved. The rune floating above the bloodline pool seemed to encounter some kind of power and began to tremble slightly, but it just trembled and didn't have any other changes. Strange, when my bloodline was reorganized, my mind could easily break the strength rune, but why can't this rune? Lu Kuan repeatedly tried several times, but the result was still a slight tremor, and there was no other reaction. Is the strength of my physical body and consciousness not enough to break the high-level demon race bloodline rune? No, when the bloodline was reorganized, I hadn't entered the viscera origin stage, and my physical body and consciousness were much weaker than now. Or, thinking of this, Lu Kuan suddenly had an idea. The power to break down the bloodline rune is not spiritual sense. With this thought, the collapsing force outside the inner ball began to increase, gradually increasing from the power of a Yuan, and the bloodline rune of the demon race began to tremble even more violently. Seeing this scene, Lu Kuan muttered in his heart, "Physical body source strength. The power to circulate the bloodline in the Dantian is actually physical body source strength. I used to think that it was my own spiritual sense that controlled everything in the Dantian, but it turned out to be controlled by source strength. No, it should be a kind of microscopic source strength." Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's thoughts were suddenly opened, and he felt suddenly enlightened. The internal collapse of the source strength field is actually the transfer of the body cultivator's physical body source strength from the macroscopic external power to the microscopic power deep in the body. The bloodline rune and bloodline source particles are extremely small and can't be seen with the naked eye. Their mass is almost zero, and as long as there is a very small force, it can be moved. On Earth, I seem to have heard that gravity mainly acts in the macroscopic world, and in the microscopic domain, the power of gravity can be ignored. In other words, after the collapse of the macroscopic source strength and the transformation into microscopic source strength, the power is reduced by hundreds, or even tens of millions of times. Lu Kuan's thoughts became clearer. Why is it that when the physical body source strength reaches the level of 2 million gene, it can collapse the internal organs and form the Dantian? That's because only when the macroscopic source strength reaches this level, the microscopic source strength it transforms can meet the minimum power requirements to adjust the bloodline rune. According to this theory, the soul-absorbing vortex is the ability to transform the macroscopic source strength into microscopic source strength. In a way, the soul is also a microscopic existence, so when it absorbs the soul, it can't harm the macroscopic physical body. The physical spiritual sense of a body cultivator is the combination of the soul and the nerves of the physical body. Under its operation, it first controls the physical body source strength, and then through the changes of the source strength, it controls the world's origin chi, bloodline, and soul. This is completely different from immortal cultivators. Immortal cultivators above the divine transformation realm, their spiritual sense, which contains the will, most likely also has the characteristics of microscopic power, so it has a strong suppression on the soul. If a Zongyuan body cultivator wants to target the soul, then they have to borrow the power of microscopic source strength. Following the analysis in his heart, Lu Kuan had a deeper understanding of the Zongyuan body cultivator realm. From this realm onwards, the physical body source strength of a body cultivator would undergo a microscopic transformation. If he could research the technique to release it, it would probably produce all kinds of miraculous abilities. After thinking for a while, Lu Kuan felt that his control of his dantian had reached a new level. The way to control microscopic source strength is actually not that different from macroscopic source strength. He looked at the demon race rune above the bloodline pool, smiled slightly in his heart, and raised the power outside the inner ball to the level of dual origin. At this time, in the space of the inner dantian, gusts of wind seemed to blow. An invisible special power penetrated the layers and acted on the exquisite purple-black rune. This power accurately fell on the demon viscera origin nodes between the bone spur particles, like countless miniature flying knives, and chopped down. Kacha, along with a faintly discernible cracking sound, this exquisite bloodline rune of the devil race broke apart inch by inch like a butcher dismembering an ox. It was broken down into specks of bone spikes and purple-black specks of devil chi light. The demon king's remnant soul panicked, but there seemed to be an invisible force around it, and it could not move at all. Lu Kuan felt these three things, and with a thought, the microscopic power in his dantian rolled, pressing a purple-black demon viscera origin into the bloodline pool, causing it to roll into the double helix rune, and pass through a berserk will bond. Then, in the slight vibration of the bloodline pool, a milky white light spot appeared at the other end. Seeing this scene, Lu Kuan finally confirmed that the purple-black light spots in the demon race bloodline rune were demon viscera origin particles. Therefore, he put the pile of demon viscera origin particles into his bloodline pool and exited the dantian state. Lu Kuan opened his eyes and saw Hong Yuntian's inquiring gaze and said with a smile, "Success." As he spoke, the muscles and ribs in his chest opened, revealing the ball of organs inside. The snow soul dual blades opened a hole, and a ball of black liquid, and a ball of demon soul, slowly floated out. He sighed, "I didn't expect to gain so much. Not only did I decompose the demon race bloodline rune into the demon race bloodline origin, demon viscera origin, and the demon king's remnant soul, I also have a new understanding of the viscera origin stage." Demon viscera origin? Understanding? I'll explain in detail to Brother Hong later. I seem to have hurt the demon king's remnant soul just now, let's search its soul first. Okay. Then, the two consciousnesses that contained the power of will merged together, and poured into the remnant soul in front of them. The latter trembled violently, but did not self-destruct like before. Seeing this, Lu Kuan and Hong Yuntian were delighted, and their consciousnesses were completely immersed in the memories of the Demon King's remnant soul. Chapter 1386. As time passed, the Devil King's remnant soul became dimmer and dimmer as it was searched repeatedly. Finally, it dissipated. Lu Kuan and Hong Yuntian retracted their divine senses. Their eyes were filled with shock and fear, and their emotions fluctuated greatly. For a moment, the cave dwelling fell into silence. After a long time, Hong Yuntian said with a solemn expression, "The devil race actually has as many as 3 body integration stage beings that the human race doesn't have. As for void refinement stage devil emperors, there are more than 50." Lu Kuan sighed. No wonder the devil race doesn't take the human race seriously. According to the blood barbarian devil king's memories, there are only 4 or 5 void refinement stage human experts in the upper realm. Their main opponent in the upper realm is the star soul race. Then, he said worriedly, Compared to the star soul race that has body integration stage beings, the human race is just a side character. However, this race with low strength has a small realm that can change the flow of time. If this news leaks out and the powerful races in the spirit realm find out, from the remnant soul, they learned that the upper realm where the human race lived was called the spirit realm. It was an extremely vast realm with countless powerful races. The devil race that had 3 body integration stage beings only dared to attack remote places in the spirit realm. At this time, Hong Yuntian's emotions had already calmed down. He said slowly, "In the depths of the blood barbarian devil king's remnant soul, there is a powerful soul seal. During the soul search process, we didn't find any information about this realm. It can be seen that the devil race is extremely cautious about this. Only the human race, the devil race, and the nether insect race know about this special realm." Lu Kuan muttered, "The nether insect race is the same as the devil race. They have their own small realm, and it's not easy for it to leak out. If that's the case, the human race has the greatest risk of leaking it out," Hong Yuntian said. The message that the Grand Elder left behind in this seat's soul did mention this point. The other end of the reverse spirit channel is a secret forbidden area of the human race. There is a top treasure similar to the Mountain of Vows there. Every cultivator who ascends will sign a soul contract with it. It's said that even body integration stage beings can't search the soul of the contract's protection. The effect should be similar to the seal in the depths of this demon king's remnant soul. Lu Kuan took a deep breath, clenched his fists, and said, "In Xueman's memories, the demon race has already occupied a part of the spirit world. After we ascend, I fear we will have to continue fighting with the demon race." Hong Yuntian's eyes also flashed with fighting spirit, and his tone was somewhat high as he said, "Although part of this guy's memories are sealed, the information about the demon race in it let us know the importance of a strong bloodline for a high realm breakthrough. When a human body cultivator reaches the Zongyuan stage, they will also develop a unique bloodline. In the future, they will definitely be able to give birth to high-level powerhouses." They searched through Xueman's remnant soul and discovered that the demon emperor, who specialized in cultivating the mortal body, had a unique status within the demon race. The demonic cultivator's cultivation levels were similar to that of the human race. Those below the nascent soul stage were called devil soldiers, which were divided into 7 levels. The nascent soul stage was equivalent to the devil general, the soul formation stage was equivalent to the devil king, and the devil emperor and devil lord were equivalent to the void refinement stage and the body integration stage respectively. Almost all demon cultivators cultivated the path of golden core and nascent soul. Only the demon emperor, who specialized in cultivating the mortal body, was an exception. Once a demon emperor reached the boundary of nascent soul, they would completely break away from the nascent soul realm and purely refine their mortal body. The energy within their body was called demon origin energy. When a demon emperor entered the void refinement realm, they would possess a brand new high-level demon bloodline and could establish a family. The cultivation of a demon emperor was extremely difficult. High-level demon emperors that were equal to late demon kings were extremely rare. As for how many void refinement realm demon emperors there were, as well as other information about them, there was no information in Xueman's memories. Xueman Demon King's Xue clan was a high-level bloodline clan. The totem pattern that appeared between his eyebrows was the emblem of his clan. Some special supernatural abilities could be displayed through this bloodline mark. Lu Kuan's mind flashed with this information. He couldn't help but think, the so-called high-level bloodlines of the demon race were created by those demon emperors who specialized in cultivating the mortal body. What characteristics does this bloodline have? How can it be called a high-level bloodline? What is the difference between it and the special bloodlines of the viscera essence body cultivators? Hong Yuntian glanced at him and said, "After you ascend and reach the middle viscera essence body cultivator, you should be able to capture a late demon emperor. At that time, you can study it and find out. Lu Kuan forced a smile and said, in Shui Man's memories, not to mention late demon emperors, even middle demon emperors are extremely rare. Otherwise, in the first great war of the demon race, the demons would have sent more middle demon emperors and perhaps one. Let's not talk about the later realms. The cultivation methods of the demon race that we found should be a great inspiration to Brother Hong. Hong Yuntian recalled the information he had just scoured and slowly nodded. It is indeed enlightening. The demon race relies on their bloodline talent. When they cultivate their demon power, they can also use a trace of the source energy of the demon chi. From there, they can produce accompanying demon energy that nourishes their mortal body. This energy has a similar effect to the blood vitality energy that you found in the bodies of monster cultivators. Lu Kuan nodded. In the past, when he was at the early bone transformation boundary and was searching for the cultivation methods of the power of life, he had studied the mortal body of a sea monster. He had discovered that deep within the blood vessels of the 5 viscera and 6 bowels, there was a special kind of energy that nourished the mortal body. This energy was called blood vitality energy. A demon cultivator's accompanying demon energy resides in their muscles at the chi refining realm, tempering their flesh and blood. At the foundation establishment realm, it enters the 5 viscera and 6 bowels. After reaching core formation, it enters the demon bones. At the demon infant stage of a demon general, the accompanying demon energy spreads throughout the entire body. At this time, Hong Yuntian thought of the method to break through the demon infant in Shui Man's memories. He ruefully smiled and said, I didn't think that the formation of the demon infant would require the assistance of the accompanying demon energy source. When I cultivated the demon corpse body refining art, what I swallowed were all dead demon corpses. The accompanying demon energy had already disappeared. What I swallowed was the flesh and blood essence of the demon corpses. No wonder I was unable to form a nascent soul. Hong Yuntian paused and then continued to say, for a demon that has just stepped into the path of cultivation, because there is no energy to guide them, they will use a special origin array to activate their demon power and accompanying demon energy. Speaking to Here, he slowly said, you should know that the origin array in Shui Man's memories is the origin array of the cloudy body refining art. Lu Kuan heard this and his tone was a bit strange. He said, the demon race uses their bloodline talent and origin array to cultivate accompanying demon energy. Humans use origin array to cultivate blood vitality demon power. Hong Yuntian seemed to be enlightened. He thoughtfully said, the demon race's demon energy and the human race's blood vitality demon power. As he spoke, he stretched out his hands. A pitch-black ball of energy appeared in his left hand. It seemed to be interwoven with flesh and blood, exuding an evil and greedy aura. In his right hand was a ball of dark purple lightning energy. This was the demon energy that he had just absorbed from the Demon King's corpse. As Lu Kuan looked at these 2 balls of energy, a light flashed in his mind. He blankly said, the demon race's bloodline talent produces demon energy that nourishes the body. But because of the compatibility of the human race's bloodline, they are able to produce blood vitality demon power that can swallow all sorts of flesh and blood. The blood vitality demon power's swallowing characteristic seems to be an extension of compatibility. Compatibility. Hong Yuntian looked at the 2 types of energy in his hands and muttered, before, I discovered that the demon energy of the fake demon emperor and demon king came from the same source as the blood vitality demon power. But the attributes repel each other. Demon energy tempers the body, but blood vitality demon power swallows the body. Could it be that the human race and the demon race's bloodline are also born from the same source, but one is exclusive and the other is compatible, so the body-tempering energy produced is completely different? Lu Kuan couldn't help but analyze. Exclusivity can be said to repel different attributes and refine the origin. That's why the demon race can extract the origin energy of demon chi to produce demon energy and refine the body. The compatibility of the human race is to take into account the integration of various attributes. It can allow the blood vitality demon power to increase its strength by swallowing the essence of other flesh and blood. Hearing this, Hong Yuntian's expression became a little complicated. The cloudy body tempering art is like this. By swallowing the flesh and blood of demon beasts, one can quickly increase one's cultivation. Whether it's the flesh and blood of demon beasts or the blood vitality energy inside, they are all different from the blood vitality demon power. Although it can be swallowed for cultivation, the risk is much higher because of swallowing a body that exceeds one's own strength. Disciples who have suffered chi deviation have become monsters with confused mind. But the demon race's associated demon energy is different. The blood vitality demon power and the blood vitality demon power come from the same source. If one can capture a demon alive and use the blood vitality demon power to swallow their associated demon energy, not only will the risk be greatly reduced, but it can also increase one's cultivation speed. Lu Kuan sighed. If there are a large number of living low-level demons, then the cloudy body tempering arts cultivator will have enough cultivation pills. The blood vitality demon power can be cultivated to core formation and above, and after swallowing the associated demon energy of a demon general, one can even condense a blood vitality nascent soul. It's a pity that back then. Hearing this, Hong Yuntian fiercely clasped his hands together, and with a crackling sound, the two energies annihilated and swallowed each other. Soon, only a dark purple ball of energy was left, emitting a special aura. He looked at this ball of energy with a cold expression, but a dark purple luster seemed to be reflected at the edges of his eyes. After a moment of silence, Hong Yuntian's lips wriggled and he said in an almost inaudible voice, "Big brother, the cloudy body tempering art isn't going in the wrong direction." Chapter 1387. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with some regret. After a while, he slowly said, "If the cloudy body refining art is derived like this, not only can it condense a nascent soul, it can even enter the spirit severing stage. Its body will be strong and its devil essence will be vigorous, similar to the demon king of the demon race. The only difference is that it can't generate source power of the body." Hong Yuntian's expression returned to normal. He calmly nodded and said, "The demon race of the demon race is exclusive. For normal demon cultivators, after cultivating to the late stage of the demon general realm, their devil essence can directly refine the whole body and achieve a complete body. According to the devouring characteristics of chi, blood, and devil essence, the cloudy body refining art must devour the body and turn it into a pool of liquid. However, the original intention of the Yuan sect to study the body refining art was to strengthen the body. It doesn't necessarily have to generate source power. The cloudy body refining art is equivalent to a demon art that can temper the body." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Then, when it reaches the spirit severing stage, won't it also have to integrate the true demon will? The human race doesn't have the bloodline of the demon race. If they integrate such will, their strength will be far inferior to the demon race." Hong Yuntian pondered for a moment and said, "The Yuan sect also discovered the flaw of the demon art, so Han Ting and the others tried to study the integration of will. The Saint Demon King also successfully found a way to integrate will. The Seven Fiends sect's baleful demon will and the original demon dragon blade's killing intent. If the cloudy body refining art is cultivated to the spirit severing stage, according to the Saint Demon King's method, it will not be suppressed by the demon race. Although there is no source power of the body, with a strong body and chi, blood, and devil essence, the combat strength will not be weaker than the demon king. Now, the top demon Dao resources in the immortal cultivation world are basically occupied by the body refining pavilion. I think we can arrange a branch in the Demon Art Pavilion to cultivate the cloudy body refining art. Lu Kuan, what do you think? Hong Yuntian paused. When he didn't hear Lu Kuan's response, he couldn't help but look up. He found that the other was in a daze and seemed to be lost in thought, so he called out again. Lu Kuan came back to his senses. His eyes flashed with thought. Brother Hong, maybe the cloudy body refining art can be cultivated in another way. Another way? Lu Kuan organized his words and said, most of the Devil Clan, like the immortal cultivators, walk the path of Jindan and Yuanying. It's just that they have the accompanying demonic energy, which makes their physical bodies extremely strong and their combat power amazing. Since the devil race's bloodline talent produces devil chi that can strengthen a devil cultivator's physical body, then why can't the human race use the devil chi produced by the compatibility of their bloodlines to help temper their physical body? Hong Yuntian frowned and said, assisting in the tempering of the physical body, then what is the main cultivation method? Cultivating mana? The normal cultivation methods of the 5 elements of the human race? Lu Kuan smiled faintly and said, actually, Dugu Yiming's demonic sword secret art is the initial use of blood and demonic chi. However, his blood and demonic chi is supported by demonic chi to devour other flesh and blood to replenish his own meridians, not to strengthen his entire body. If an immortal cultivator who cultivates dermic powers uses the Vajra esoteric art as a foundation and reaches the core formation stage, they can try to cultivate the demonic power of chi and blood. Using the devil sword art, they can store it in their sternum. Due to the repulsion between Dharma power and demonic power, Dharma power is still at the golden core level. It can completely suppress low-level chi and demonic power, reducing the risk by a lot. As Lu Kuan spoke, he looked a little excited as he tried to deduce it. In this way, core formation stage cultivators can follow the cultivation method of the cloudy body refinement mantra and refine their bodies step by step. They can also try to consume the associated demonic energy of the demons to speed up the refinement of their bodies. Dharma cultivators at this level should be able to cultivate their chi and blood to the foundation establishment level. When immortal cultivators enter the nascent soul stage, they can refer to the body refinement demonic art to condense their core and melt their bones. They can store their chi and blood and demonic chi from the sternum to the bones of the whole body and cultivate core formation level chi and demonic chi. Nascent soul stage dermic powers are enough to suppress it. At this stage, in addition to consuming the associated demonic energy of the demons, Dharma cultivators can also let a trace of dermic powers enter their bones and eliminate each other with the chi and blood demonic energy to quickly refine their bones. Back then, the chi and blood demonic energy in Li Qianfeng's demon arm accelerated its cultivation by consuming the golden core fragment. At the great circle of the nascent soul stage, the Dharma cultivator's body should be comparable to that of a body cultivator at the peak of the bone treasure stage. However, to maintain the Dantian and nascent soul, there is no way to condense the flesh and blood to generate the original power of the body. Even so, such a Dharma cultivator has a strong body. The bones of the body contain the chi and blood demonic energy, and can cultivate into a soul formation stage cultivator with the orthodox method. This method of cultivation can be called dual cultivation of Dharma and physique. Dual cultivation of Dharma and physique. After listening to Lu Kuan's description, Hong Yuntian couldn't help but feel excited. The ultimate goal of the Yuan School's research on the body refining art was to integrate the body refining art into the Dharma cultivator's cultivation method, so as to greatly increase the overall strength of immortal cultivators. However, after thinking for a moment, he frowned slightly and said, "It's simple to say, but this method of dual cultivation of Dharma and physique requires the control of 2 different types of energy in the body. Not only is it extremely risky to cultivate, but it also takes a long time. Moreover, the aptitude of this kind of cultivator is biased towards spiritual root. In the body refining pavilion, only the disciples of the treasure pavilion cultivate the traditional cultivation method. If they try dual cultivation of dharma and physique, Lu Kuan slowly shook his head and said, "My opinion is to let other sects try it. Just like the Yuan school's original idea, the significance of this realm's existence is to use the different flow of time to research more powerful cultivation methods, and help the human race of the upper realm gain a foothold in the spirit realm." At first, Hong Yuntian's eyes flashed with some hesitation. This was tantamount to publicizing the core of the cloudy body refining art. However, after hearing Lu Kuan's last sentence, he no longer worried about his sectarian views and asked, "Which sect do you intend to give it to?" Lu Kuan pondered and said, "Although qi and blood are auxiliary, it also involves two different types of energy. If they accidentally collide, the dantian will be easily destroyed. In today's immortal cultivation world, there are cultivation methods that can cultivate demonic qi at the same time." Hearing this, Hong Yuntian's expression changed and he said, "You mean Buddhism?" Lu Kuan said, "Yes, the cultivation method created by the great spiritual King Buddha itself is to cultivate demonic qi and dharma power at the same time, and there will can control demonic qi at the same time. Buddhism is the most suitable sect to try dual cultivation of dharma and physique. Moreover, Abbot Ji Yuan was the first to express goodwill to our body refining pavilion. He also cares about the entire human race. When they have initial results, we can slowly spread this dual cultivation of dharma and physique." Hong Yuntian also had some understanding of Buddhism, so he did not object. Then he said, "The cloudy body refining art is equivalent to a pure dual cultivation of dharma and physique. It should be in our hands. We can recruit disciples from the demonic sects of the body refining pavilion and bring them into the demonic technique pavilion to cultivate." Lu Kuan nodded and said, "No problem. This way, the demonic technique pavilion will have three great cultivation methods: Li Qianfeng's body refining demonic technique, cloudy body refining art, and Brother Hong's demonic zombie body refining art." After confirming the development direction of the cloudy body refining art, the two of them followed the same pattern and dissected all the organs of the demon lords. Apart from some information about the demon race, they also learned that these demon lords mainly came from three families: the Luo family, the Xie family, and the He family. The latter two were declining families. There were no demon emperors in their families, so they were subordinate to the Luo family. The Luo family was one of the three great families of the demon race. The strongest person in the family was the demon lord Luo Tian, a terrifying existence at the body integration stage. Lu Kuan recalled the information he obtained from the soul search and said slowly, "Although the memories of these demon lords don't contain any information about this realm, we can guess that the mastermind behind this is the demon lord Luo Tian." Hong Yuntian said, "Back then, the Supreme Elder deliberately created this demon realm spatial passage with the intention of restraining a demon lord. After all, the demon realm only opens once every 5 years. Not only does it require a powerhouse to guard this secret, but it also relies on a body integration stage existence to cast a spell to send the demon lords into this realm." Speaking of this, he said with a solemn expression, "Lu Kuan, will the demon race sense that we have dissected the high-level demon race's bloodline abhijna?" Lu Kuan looked at the corpses of the demon lords on the ground with their chests empty. He touched his chin and said, "They should be able to sense it. However, they will most likely think that these demon lords were killed and not searched. After all, their demon organs and bloodline abhijna were almost destroyed at the same time." He pondered and said, "It seems that we can't search the souls of the remaining demon emperors. Otherwise, the demon realm will know that all high-level demon cultivators have been killed this time. If there are still demon emperors alive, they will continue to send more demon cultivators to confirm the situation here." Hong Yuntian narrowed his eyes and said, "When I enter the soul formation stage, I can try to control the demon emperor's body. Maybe I can show the demon race some kind of illusion." Lu Kuan was stunned at first. Then, he looked at the fake demon emperor's corpse on the ground and said with some surprise, "Brother Hong, have you found the direction to break through?" Hong Yuntian said, "I only searched a small part of the fake demon emperor's soul that had just broken through. The other party's soul collapsed under the restriction of a true demon intent. Fortunately, the demon emperor Luo Yu taught the fake demon emperor and the demon emperor's breakthrough method after they entered the immortal cultivation world. It happened not long ago, and I just happened to search their souls. Combined with the information about the techniques obtained from searching the souls of the other demon lords, I have more or less understood the direction of cultivation." The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "But in this way, the demon zombie body tempering art should change its name." Lu Kuan asked curiously, "Change its name to what?" Hong Yuntian's mind flashed with the technique he had derived, and he said word by word, "True demon technique." Chapter 1388. Several months later, somewhere in the skies of the great Zhou dynasty's Huatian province, Li Qianfeng, a high-level body cultivator, was flying at top speed, recalling what he had done recently. It turns out that blood vitality demon energy is a product of human bloodline compatibility. It comes from the same source as the demon race's accompanying demon energy. With the help of life force, the former can easily devour the latter. No wonder the battle was so easy. He looked at his skinny demon arm, his eyes flashing with a thoughtful light. In the war of the demon race, the second-generation body cultivator disciples fought with early-stage demon generals. Li Qianfeng was the fastest to finish off his opponent. As long as his demon arm grabbed the demon general's body, the blood vitality demon energy inside would riot and begin to devour some kind of energy from the opponent's body, rapidly reducing their body's reaction and strength. With the help of his body's source strength, he easily suppressed the early-stage demon general. When the blood vitality demon energy devours the accompanying demon energy, it will extract a kind of energy source. Not only can it nourish and refine the body, but it can also quickly restore blood essence. Besides body-refining demon arts, other bone transformation realm body cultivators can also use them. The effect is better than the life force of high-level monster beasts. However, the accompanying demon energy also needs to be refined for the demon race. According to the Great Elder's observation, an early-stage demon general needs about 5 years to fully restore their dried-up accompanying demon energy. No wonder the Pavilion Master keeps the demon race in captivity. As long as there are enough demon generals, there will be an endless supply of energy source. This is simply a pill storehouse for high-level body cultivators. Li Qianfeng sighed with emotion. In the past few months, he had followed Hong Yuntian and Little Gold to capture all the devil generals in the devil territory. He had extracted a round of their associated devil abilities one by one. He could even remember the terrified expressions of every devil general. Besides the Great Elder, only my body-refining demon art is suitable for extracting this special energy. The energy source that was extracted this time is enough for everyone to use for some time. Moreover, this energy needs the Great Elder's blood essence to be preserved for a long time. The next extraction should take a long time. If I can refine the energy source of the accompanying demon energy into some kind of pill, it will be convenient to store it. While thinking, Li Qianfeng heard the faint sound of a bell. He couldn't help but look up. A vast mountain range with a flat top came into view. Temples could be vaguely seen in the clouds at the top of the mountain. That's right, we can let the monks of Huatian Temple study this kind of pill. They'll try to cultivate both energy and body. Other than the accompanying demonic energy, they'll also use special herbs that contain qi and blood. Let's start with the associated demonic energy of low-grade demonic weapons and slowly extend it to high-grade pills. He slowed down his flying speed, and his divine sense swept over a jade slip in the rib space. His eyes were full of reverence. Pavilion Master and Great Elder are truly amazing. They actually combined the cloudy body tempering mantra, the Vajra spell, and the artifact spirit root to create a brand new body tempering mantra that can be cultivated by traditional immortal cultivators. According to the idea inside, cultivators with Jindan and Yuanying, as long as they follow the order step by step, will have the opportunity to cultivate their physical body to the peak of the bone treasure level. However, this cultivation method is extremely risky. If you slack off or rush for success, the chi, blood, and demonic power may devour your entire body. Furthermore, cultivating the physical body at the same time as the golden core and nascent soul consumes a very long time. Thinking of this, he suddenly touched his head with his hand and muttered in his heart, "Let the Buddhists study and perfect the cultivation of both energy and body. I can just pass the cultivation method to Abbot Ji Yuan and communicate with him through the voice transmission talisman. Great Elder wants me to stay in the Buddhists for 300 years and personally guide them. I heard that the Buddhists' cultivation methods are very evil. Isn't he afraid that I'll become a monk?" While he was troubled, Li Qianfeng had already arrived above the largest temple. He looked at the monks coming and going under the clouds, listened to the bell echoing in the mountains, and smelled the Buddhist fragrance in the air. His emotions suddenly calmed down. Since Pavilion Master and Great Elder have made such arrangements, they must have their reasons. I'll just cultivate in the Buddhists in peace. Then, Li Qianfeng exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. A voice transmission talisman appeared in his hand. His lips moved slightly, and he threw it into the clouds in front of Huatian Temple's mountain gate. Ancient spirit state, in a cave in the depths of the primeval Devil Mountain range. Hong Yuntian stood in the hall and looked at his right hand. A ball of black liquid floated in his palm. Purple lightning intertwined within it, like a mini thundercloud, emitting a unique aura. The early stage of devil change cultivation is the process of fusing the essence of the human and demon races, flesh and blood. After forming the true demon bloodline, one will enter the middle stage of devil change. At this stage, with the help of the physical origin power and bloodline power, one will be able to extract special origin energy from demon essence energy. Then, under the effect of life force, it will fuse with Qi blood demonic energy to form this Qi blood demonic energy. Hong Yuntian felt the aura of the energy in his palm and revealed a somewhat intoxicated expression. This energy not only has the ability to devour Qi blood demonic energy, but also contains the characteristics of the demon race's Qi blood demonic energy to refine the body. It can be said that it combines the characteristics of the human and demon race's bloodlines. It's simply perfect. As the Qi blood demonic energy grows, the strength of the physical body and life force will also increase at the same time. If there are no surprises, as long as I convert all my Qi blood demonic energy into Qi blood demonic energy, my cultivation will reach the peak of the middle stage of devil change, and I can try to enter the late stage of devil change. If I cultivate step by step, I'm afraid it'll take me 300 to 400 years to completely convert all my Qi blood demonic energy. He couldn't help but recall the scenes of him and Li Qianfeng extracting demonic energy in the past few months. The energy source of a demon general's accompanying demon ability is not refined enough and is not of much help. Only the energy source of a demon king's demon ability and a fake demon emperor's demon ability can directly fuse with my vitality and demon power to speed up my cultivation. The internal organs of the 6 demon kings have all been destroyed, and there's a complete fake demon emperor, as well as Hong Yuntian waved one hand and a 9-foot-long demon corpse appeared on the ground. At the same time, a spiritual light flashed in front of him, and a 1-foot-tall purple-black demon nascent soul floated in the air. This demon nascent soul surged with a vigorous demon chi aura, but the true demon will and divine soul inside had dissipated. It was the nascent soul of the demon kings they had searched. With their help, my cultivation time in the middle stage of demon change can be greatly reduced. While thinking, an invisible force field surged around Hong Yuntian's body, lifting the fake demon emperor from the ground and making it sit in a cross-legged position. Then, he went behind the fake demon emperor, and a ball of chi blood demonic energy flashing with purple lightning appeared in each of his hands. The 2 human palms quickly melted and stuck to the purple-black scales like wax. From the black liquid arms, one could see flesh and blood in the shape of muscle fibers. It looked extremely evil. Gradually, the demon corpse whose divine soul had dissipated slowly opened its eyes, and its mouth full of fangs slowly opened, swallowing the floating demon nascent soul. According to the information obtained from the soul search, the demon kings and fake demon emperor's demonic energy can be extracted from demon chi and true essence. With the help of the chi blood demonic energy in my body, I can barely control the fake demon emperor's body and circulate its demonic energy. This demon corpse is equivalent to a transformation magic treasure, transforming the demon chi in the demon king's nascent soul into demonic energy origin for me to absorb. With the increase of the chi blood demonic energy, the control of the fake demon emperor's body will be smoother, and the cultivation speed will be faster and faster. Hong Yuntian slowly closed his eyes, and the source field surged outside his body, and a powerful bloodline aura containing the true demon will appeared. The surrounding demonic energy trembled slightly and gathered toward the fake demon emperor's body. Great Zhou's underworld mountain, Corpse King Valley. Thunder Yiksha and the other corpse kings sat cross-legged in a circle. They wore different colored robes, and except for their gray skin, bone spurs, and wings on their backs, their faces and figures looked no different from ordinary human cultivators. Under the control of these high-level silver-armored corpses, the cold Yin energy in the sky above the Corpse King Valley gathered below. After being purified by them, it finally rushed toward Serene in the middle. In today's immortal cultivation world, the body refining pavilion was the dominant force. Under its protection, no one dared to have any ideas about Underworld Mountain. Moreover, the body refining pavilion was rich and had abundant cultivation resources, so these corpse kings didn't need to go out to find resources. More importantly, under the nourishment of the bone transformation body cultivator's blood essence, the 5 corpse kings' bodies became more and more refined. The corpse chi in their bodies became the same as Serene's. It could be condensed into the bones, and it could also be manifested to form corpse chi armor outside the body, further increasing their strength. Therefore, over the years, the more Thunder Yiksha and the other corpse kings thought about it, the more they felt that Lu Kuan was right. Zombies and body cultivators were simply an excellent combination. More importantly, body cultivators had almost no demands on silver-armored corpses. According to Pavilion Master Lu, only the Metal Elite Zombies' special mental strength would be of help to the cultivation of a high-level body cultivator. The body refining pavilion raised the zombies of the Middle Underworld Mountain in order to cultivate the Metal Elite Zombie. To the Metal Elite Zombie, this wasn't much of a cost. According to the information left behind by Metal Elite Corps, zombies in this realm were completely free from the corrosion of bloodthirsty will, which was very attractive to Thunder Yiksha and the other corpse kings. In order to seize the opportunity to break through, the 5 corpse kings didn't hesitate to consume their origin to help Serene, who had an extreme Yin body, cultivate to the peak of silver-armored corpse as soon as possible. With the help of a real Metal Elite Corpse and the body refining pavilion's resources, they had a chance to enter this realm. In the southwest cultivation world, the 3 demonic sects of the state of Qi had become history. The 7 Fiends sect had vanished into thin air, The Yinyang sect had been eliminated by the Body Refining Pavilion, and the remaining Blood Refining sect had become a subsidiary sect of the Body Refining Pavilion, under the Demonic Arts Pavilion. On this day, in the depths of the demonic Dragon Mountain where the Blood Refining sect was located, Pan Yen, a mid-stage bone transformation realm cultivator, stood in a valley. He looked at the bottomless hole under his feet and said to the female cultivator behind him, who was only half his height, very low, "I'm in seclusion in the depths of the Xian Huang Qi underground. I won't disturb the true demonic pool in your forbidden area." This female cultivator with a chubby face was the current Grand Elder of the Blood Refining sect, Lu Yanjun. She raised her head and looked at the tall figure whose arms were almost as thick as her waist. She slightly bowed and said, "This is the restriction token of the forbidden area. When Elder Pan leaves, just activate it with your consciousness and the restriction outside will open. I won't disturb you." Pan Yen took the dark red token and nodded slightly. After Lu Yanjun left the valley, a sphere the size of a watermelon appeared in his thick palm. It seemed to be composed of black muscle fibers and seemed to contain some kind of special energy. This is the energy source extracted from the high-level demonic generals. It's enough to sustain cultivation for a period of time. Grand Elder said that one of the ways to comprehend the power of will is to comprehend the heaven and earth. The soul of a late-stage nascent soul realm cultivator is extremely close to his nascent soul. Through the nascent soul, he can comprehend the truth of all things and try to comprehend the will of the corresponding 5 elements. Although a body cultivator doesn't have a nascent soul, the physical body itself is the place where the soul resides. If I sink my physical body into the Xian Huang Qi, which is the ultimate earth attribute treasure of heaven and earth, I wonder if I can comprehend it? After whispering a few times, Pan Yen took a deep breath and jumped into the bottomless hole. In a certain cave abode in the devil abyss of the Cloud Ridge Mountains of the Wei Nation's Lu province, hundreds of swords were stabbed into the ground. Some of them were Dharma artifacts while others were Dharma treasures. They were arranged in a special formation that filled the entire hall. As the surrounding demonic qi and spiritual qi rolled, the hall was filled with spiritual sword cries from time to time. Huang Xiaoyun sat cross-legged in the middle of these swords, practicing the middle stage of bone transformation. Chapter 1389. In a strange place far away from the world of cultivators, there was a thick black fog that stretched for thousands of miles. It was surrounded by deep purple lightning bolts. The black fog and the lightning bolts intertwined, outlining the vague outline of a giant humanoid creature. 4 tall demon cultivators were floating near the creature's head. 2 of them were male and 2 of them were female. They were wearing armor that was a mixture of bone spikes and scales, and their faces had different totem patterns. After a while, a female demon with a beautiful face and short purple hair opened her eyes. She said in a slightly soothing voice, "I just communicated with the Mirage Beast. Although it doesn't know what happened in that small realm, it can vaguely sense that many disciples of the sacred clan are still active in the demonic fog." Hearing this, the other 3 demons also heaved a sigh of relief and couldn't help but discuss. According to the situation 700 years ago, if the human race won, they definitely wouldn't have let the disciples of the sacred clan stay in the nightmare fog. The human race would have either destroyed them or locked them in a restricted area to prevent the disciples of the sacred clan from making further breakthroughs and creating new demon kings and fake demon emperors. So it seems that our army didn't lose. Instead, both sides suffered great losses? Impossible. The most powerful human cultivator in that small realm is only at the pseudo-soul formation stage. Even with the help of some exquisite array formations, the power they could unleash is extremely limited. Most of the disciples of the sacred clan are still alive, but only Demon Emperor Luo Yu is left. This means that the fierce battle took place at the Demon King level. the combination of the demon kings and demon emperors of the sacred clan, and it was in a place where the demon spirit vital chi is mixed. Unless the human race has more than 10 cultivators at the mid-soul formation stage, it's impossible for them to achieve this. Hearing this, the short-haired female demon's triangular purple eyes flashed slightly. There's another possibility. There's more than one demon king at the mid-soul formation stage and suspected to be from the spirit realm. Hearing this, the other 3 demons' expressions changed slightly. The one that injured Luo Yu and the others was that unknown spirit realm creature? Thinking about it this way, it's very possible. The nightmare fog of the mirage disk was broken probably because the fluctuations from their chaotic battle reached the limit of the realm and interfered with the space. If that unknown spirit world creature won, they would definitely have rushed into the demonic fog and destroyed the Saint's space channel. But we didn't feel any strong spatial fluctuations. Did Luo Yu and the others win? It's also possible that both sides have suffered heavy losses. However, that realm has a large number of human cultivators and an endless supply of nascent soul cultivators. Luo Yu's recovery ability is extremely strong. She might be chasing after the other party right now. The further we delay, the greater the advantage the Saints will have. Moreover, the demon generals we sent over all have decent aptitudes. If they cultivate in the nightmare fog environment, they will soon give birth to new demon kings or even fake demon emperors. Listening to the discussion, the short-haired woman was silent for a while. No matter what the result is, we will know when the space channel opens in 5 years. During this time, we will guard the mirage disk at all times. Unless Luo Yu dies or something happens to the nightmare mist, inform Lord Father. Before that, no one is allowed to disturb Lord Father. If Lord Father's recovery is affected, you should know the consequences. Fear flashed in the eyes of the other 3 demons. They nodded and spread out around the head of the lightning creature. Broken Kingdom, deep within the North Pole Mountains. In a cave-dwelling hall that was embedded into the cliff of the abyss, countless strong winds mixed with demonic spirit origin energy constantly tumbled about, emitting loud rumbling sounds. Beneath the halo of black, white, and gold origin energy, a deformed life form sat cross-legged in the center of the hall. This was a 2-headed and 4-armed monster. One head was that of a short-haired human man, and the other was that of a 4-eared monkey with golden fur. On both sides of its massive body, there was a pair of human arms and a pair of golden monkey arms that were several times thicker. 3 different colored origin energies swirled around its body like rings of light. At the same time, boundless blood vitality roiled within the body of this 2-headed and 4-armed monster. Faintly, an incomparably hateful roar emitted from its body. After an unknown period of time, the origin energy in the hall gradually calmed down. The thick monkey arms on both sides of the monster's body had shrunk in half, and the hateful roar and surging bloodline aura within its body had also vanished. Rip, suddenly, the flesh and blood of the 2-headed and 4-armed monster's neck and shoulder joints tore open. The fine muscle fibers inside were like countless intricate gears, biting and separating from each other. Through these cracks, one could even see the internal organs that were beating, as well as the bones that were also splitting apart. The speed at which the flesh and blood separated became faster and faster. Accompanied by an invisible force field, a golden figure shot out from the back of the body and transformed into a golden-haired monkey that was several feet tall. This little monkey somersaulted a few times in the air, stepped on the void, and jumped a few times before landing next to the burly human man. It clenched its small fist and surged with strong wind blades. Sensing the situation within its body, the little monkey said with a happy face, "Lu Kuan, all the resentment has been consumed. My strength has also increased to 1,400,000 Jin." Lu Kuan's face was slightly pale and his aura seemed a little weak. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and nodded gently. The hyperboloid rune of strength has been successfully condensed. My strength has naturally increased. At this point, his eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. I didn't expect the six-eared macaque's devouring theurgy to be so domineering. If not for my cultivation being so much higher than yours and my unique body cultivator theurgy, even if I didn't die, my cultivation would have been greatly reduced. Ever since Xiao Jin used the three-headed, six-armed monster, the resentment in its body would occasionally surge. To ensure the little monkey's cultivation and eliminate the hidden dangers, Lu Kuan tried to let the six-eared macaque's devouring theurgy proactively. Now, not only had this hidden danger been resolved, Xiao Jin's bloodline origin source had also combined with the demonic race's frenzy to form the power rune. However, because it had left behind the spiritual ear theurgy, its strength did not increase to 1,600,000 jin. And during this period of research, Lu Kuan had a thorough understanding of the six-eared macaque's theurgy. Back then, when he and Xiao Jin formed a bloodline contract by chance, the six-eared macaque's devouring theurgy had taken effect. As long as Lu Kuan cultivated a technique, Xiao Jin could cultivate it. As long as he successfully broke through a major realm, the little monkey would naturally break through as well. If Lu Kuan's judgment was correct, the wise stone monkey in the body refining pavilion's mountain of vows was the main body of the previous six-eared macaque. As the theurgy realms were exactly the same, the two divine monkeys had fought fiercely and suffered heavy injuries, dying at the same time. The wise stone monkey had used its theurgy to try to be reborn from a fossil. For some reason, the six-eared macaque's bloodline had been inherited by Xiao Jin. Lu Kuan muttered, "Fortunately, we didn't repeat the same mistake and solved this problem in advance. Otherwise, when you entered the Zongyuan stage, the hatred in the depths of your bloodline would corrode your soul and try to devour me." Hearing this, Xiao Jin scuttled to Lu Kuan's shoulder. Its eyes were filled with fear as it said, "Fortunately, I didn't copy the lightning resistance. Otherwise, I might have entered the late stage of bone transformation. That would be troublesome." Hearing this, Lu Kuan muttered, "Lightning resistance is a special theurgy of the hidden Relingen. Demon beasts don't have spirit roots, so there's no way to copy it." When Xiao Jin was at the peak of bone treasure, it didn't break through with Zhao Qingtian and the others. It was because its bloodline instincts had a premonition that a hasty breakthrough would only lead to death. Taking advantage of this juncture, the two sides pulled apart about 100 years of cultivation time. After that, Lu Kuan used the theurgy of soul concealment and the spiritual shock wave produced by the dark spirit crystal and the will of the mutant to quickly temper his internal organs. He cultivated to the pseudo-Zongyuan stage. Later, they encountered the incomparably strange demonic fog, which caused the six-eared macaque's bloodline theurgy to erupt prematurely. In the end, due to the difference in their cultivation levels and the effect of Beast King transformation, their bodies strangely formed a half-fused state. Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Although the hatred is gone, our bodies still have a fused connection. We can use the Beast King transformation to transform into a two-headed, four-armed body. It can be considered a blessing in disguise. We've obtained a unique joint theurgy." Hearing this, Xiao Jin's 4 ears trembled at the same time. It said excitedly, "If we cultivate like this, I will also break through using the double helix method. At that time, if we use our two-headed, four-armed bodies, how powerful will that be?" Lu Kuan raised a finger and flicked the little monkey's head. He laughed and scolded, "What are you thinking about? Although the six-eared macaque's bloodline origin is still there, without the hatred, your cultivation speed will probably be affected. Hurry up and go to the Demon Abyss Cave abode in the Yunling Mountains to cultivate. I only have less than 300 years left." "Oh!" Chapter 1390. The little monkey reluctantly left the North Pole Mountain. Although the demonic spiritual yuan qi in this place was very pure, and there was a constant supply of demonic spiritual yuan qi from the spatial cracks, Lu Kuan also used up a lot of demonic spiritual yuan qi. If Xiao Jin stayed here, his efficiency would only decrease. After the little monkey left, Lu Kuan fell into deep thought alone. He recalled the scene from before and whispered, "The six-eared macaque's bloodline mystique is also a special rune structure. And the demonic bloodline rune from before. I wonder if a body cultivator at the Zongyuan stage can use it." Just now, he and Xiao Jin were in the state of 2 heads and 4 arms. One man and one monkey's internal organs showed a half-fused dantian with the help of the Snow Soul dual sabers. If Lu Kuan had not tested the internal organs of the 6 demonic lords and improved the Beast King transformation mystique, he would not have been able to do this. It was in this state that he saw Xiao Jin's bloodline pool. As their internal organs had fused together, there were 10 internal organ islands. The bloodline pool was connected, but it was clearly divided into 2. Xiao Jin's bloodline pool had a few different parts. There was the demonic ape transformation of his long-armed demon ape bloodline, the long-armed mystique, and the passive strength mystique. Other than that, there were 2 pools. One was the spirit ear mystique, and the other was in the middle of the pool. It was a very special golden rune pool. I thought the 6-eared macaque only devoured blood essence. I did not expect it to devour the bloodline origin. In order to wear down Xiao Jin's bloodthirst, almost half of my violent bloodline origin was used up. After sighing, Lu Kuan closed his eyes. The origin force field collapsed inwards, and his physical body and consciousness sank into his dantian. In the bloodline pool surrounded by the 5 internal organs islands, a circular double spiral bloodline rune floated in the golden blood. Compared to before, this rune had shrunk a lot. The bloodline origin particles on it were also very shriveled. With his bloodline damaged, although Lu Kuan could still use the power of 2 elements, it was extremely strenuous. It was as if he was suffering from a serious illness, and it was even more unbearable than when his essence blood was exhausted. If blood essence can be recovered through bone marrow, then the bloodline origin particles should also be able to recover by absorbing energy. The only energy in the bloodline pool is the devil spirit's viscera. With a thought, Lu Kuan looked towards the bottom of the bloodline pool. There were over 1,000 specks of purple and black light. They were the demon viscera origin particles he had extracted from the demon race's divine soul concealment divine ability some time ago. Under the effect of microscopic origin power, these particles floated up and surged into the dry double helix, entering the dried bloodline origin particles without any resistance. However, the latter shrunk slightly, as if there were some changes, but also as if there were no movements. There's some recovery effect. Could it be? He suddenly thought of something. Under his control, many demon viscera origin particles rolled into the will bond of the double helix. With the loss of some violent will, silver-white spirit viscera origin particles gushed out from the other end, and then directly entered the dried bloodline origin particles of the main chain. At this moment, the surface of the entire circular double helix bloodline suddenly lit up with a layer of pale golden light. Lu Kuan immediately felt that the bloodline origin was showing signs of recovery. He breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at the special layer of light and was slightly surprised. Strange, after the demon viscera origin particles are integrated, there seems to be a tendency to fuse. But I've experimented repeatedly before. The demon viscera origin energy is neither conflicting nor fused in the bloodline pool. Could it be that it can only fuse when the bloodline origin is damaged? Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and began to control the sea of blood essence, injecting the blood origin particles into the 5 viscera islands. Under the filtration, every 9 blood origin particles condensed and turned into a golden particle that entered the bloodline pool. Whether it was blood demon viscera or blood true essence, they would be purified into blood origin particles by the 5 viscera islands. This golden blood origin was the same. However, when it entered the will bond of the double helix, what came out was not the fused golden viscera, but 2 different viscera. With the influx of the golden blood origin particles and the transformation of the violent will bond, a large amount of spirit viscera origin particles appeared in the bloodline pool. Together with the demon viscera origin particles at the bottom of the pool, they were continuously injected into the dried-up origin particles of the double helix bloodline. Gradually, a numb feeling spread throughout the body, making people feel as if they had returned to the time when their bodies were still growing. Time continued to pass, and the dried-up origin particles slowly recovered. After more than 3 months, the particles inside became full. At this time, the demon viscera origin particles could not easily enter. In the process of the bloodline recovery, Lu Kuan discovered a situation that he had not noticed before. When the demon viscera origin particles were tightly attached to the main chains of the double helix, as well as the bone spurs in the middle, the 2 different viscera origin particles seemed to have a slight tendency to fuse. Could the key to the fusion of the 2 energies be the bloodline origin particles? For Lu Kuan, who had just begun to study the cultivation method of the viscera origin stage, this kind of energy was obviously the most important. Moreover, he had a special bloodline that had a dual attribute will breakthrough. This kind of fusion and separation of the core energy was definitely closely related to his future cultivation. Lu Kuan carefully observed the 2 main chains of the double helix bloodline rune, especially the plump origin particles. When he enlarged them and saw the appearance of the particles that were a mixture of bone spurs and muscle fibers, he suddenly understood. The violent bloodline is a brand new bloodline, but the bloodline origin particles inside can still see the characteristics of the 2 races. In other words, my violent bloodline has not completely solidified and is still in the nascent stage. If the bloodline is truly formed, it should contain a new kind of bloodline origin particles. The bloodline origin of the human and demon races seems to have changed a little after 3 months of recovery. He suddenly found that at the intersection of the bone spurs and the 2 main chains, the muscle fiber particles of the human bloodline origin seemed to be fusing with the demon bone spurs. The bone spurs are not damaged. Is it the infusion of the demon viscera origin particles in the past 3 months that caused the fusion? A newly formed bloodline needs time to nurture, just like a newly forged artifact. The energy that needs to be nurtured is the demon viscera origin particles? Lu Kuan couldn't help but analyze in his mind. My bloodline rune is formed through the fusion of the dual attribute will and the bloodline origin particles of the 2 races through microscopic origin power. Although the double helix structure it forms is extremely stable, and the will bonds can perfectly restore the bloodline origin soul, the bloodline origin particles inside are not unified and appear to be somewhat mottled. Whether it is a body cultivator or a spell cultivator, the purity of energy is extremely important. The bloodline should be the same. Thinking of this, he no longer hesitated. Using the method of restoring the origin particles before, he mobilized the demon viscera origin particles in the 2 main chains of the double helix and the bone spurs in the middle. However, when these purple, black, and white dots of energy hit the main chains of the double helix, they were bounced back. The origin particles are full and no longer absorb the demon viscera origin particles? If they don't absorb, I will force it in. Lu Kuan's mind moved, and the microscopic origin power he mobilized gradually increased, suppressing the rebounding demon viscera origin particles. The main chains of the double helix and the bone spurs in the middle were covered with 2 colored dots of light. They resonated with each other and slowly penetrated the bloodline origin particles under the pressure of an invisible force. With the infusion of these energies, The ring-shaped double helix bloodline rune in the bloodline pool began to tremble slightly, making Lu Kuan feel a pain that seemed to pierce the depths of his soul. He ignored the pain and carefully felt the vibration of the double helix rune. He gradually increased the microscopic origin power until all the demon viscera origin particles of light were absorbed into the bloodline origin of the two main chains. Immediately afterward, Lu Kuan felt that the two types of energy seemed to merge within the bloodline origin particles. Moreover, a special kind of energy was nourishing and nurturing the bloodline origin particles. It seems that my guess was right. The Berserk bloodline is in the nascent stage and needs to be nourished with demon viscera origin particles to fuse the bloodline origin of the human and demon races. The vibration of the double helix is the repulsive force produced by the further fusion of the two races' origins. From the perspective of the effect, the nurturing of the nascent bloodline seems to take a long time. I can try to increase the microscopic origin power. The structure of the double helix bloodline can even support the Berserk divine ability for a period of time. This little vibration is nothing at all. While thinking, Lu Kuan mobilized more microscopic origin power to find the best cultivation efficiency. At the same time, he absorbed the heaven and earth yuan qi from the outside world and transformed more demon viscera origin particles. Soon, his burly body was wrapped in turbulent golden yuan qi, and the incomparably violent bloodline aura in his body became more and more turbulent. Chapter 1391. As time passed, this cave-dwelling stuck at the edge of the abyss was always wrapped in a thick black and white halo. 1 year, 5 years passed, and the yuan qi was still surging, but the gathering speed was much slower. It formed a kind of balance with the demonic spirit yuan qi gushing out of the surrounding space crack. After more than 30 years, the yuan qi in the North Pole mountain range gradually calmed down. The burly body wrapped in golden yuan qi gradually appeared in the cave dwelling. The power of blood in his body was surging, but the strange thing was that the violent bloodline aura seemed to have disappeared. This is the fully formed double helix bloodline rune? Lu Kuan's body and consciousness were still immersed in his dantian, feeling the double helix rune in the bloodline pool. Although this bloodline rune was still a double helix structure, its appearance was very different from before. Originally, the basic unit of the true demon rune main chain was a long strip with a bone spur as the backbone. The two ends were wrapped with muscle fibers, and it looked like a mixture of black bone and silver fiber. But now it was a shiny silver-black bone chain. It looked like a chain made of some kind of special metal. The basic unit was no longer a long bone spur, but a circular bone ring. As for the bone spur that extended from the middle of the true demon rune main chain, it had become a smooth metal strip that extended from the side of the bone ring. It was engraved with a mysterious pattern similar to the demon dragon blade. Originally, the pattern of the fusion of willpower was made of muscle fibers, but now these fibers seemed to have melted. Although this true demon rune chain looked like a metal bone, Lu Kuan, who had witnessed the entire transformation, knew that there was a mass of muscle fibers inside the circular bone rings. On the other side, the strength rune main chain did not change much in appearance. It still looked like muscle fibers. The biggest change was the bone spur that connected to the violent willpower. The bone spur had disappeared and was replaced by a short rod made of pure fibers. However, there were rune lines on the outside of these fibers. Through these gaps, one could see a silver-black luster flashing inside. The true demon rune main chain is composed of outer bone and inner fiber, while the power rune main chain is composed of outer fiber and inner bone. I didn't expect such a huge change to occur after the bloodline rune matured. Although Lu Kuan had seen the entire process of the transformation during his cultivation, he still found it inconceivable after seeing it fully formed. This ring-shaped double helix structure seems to have an automatic adjustment, strengthening, and stabilizing effect. After leaving the infant stage, it seems to be much more stable. In addition, the berserk will can also be hidden in the will bond. Lu Kuan resisted the urge to test the berserk divine ability and looked above the bloodline rune. There were some pure golden light particles floating there quietly. They were one size bigger than the previous organ essence particles. Previously, the reason why the demonic spirit was unable to fuse with the demonic spirit's viscera should be because the source of the demonic spirit's bloodline had yet to fully solidify. Now, the origin particles of the two main chains have been automatically adjusted and reshaped according to the double helix. The fusion of the demon spirit's viscera is a natural process. He was deep in thought as he controlled the golden blood essence outside to enter the bloodline pool and roll the concentrated blood essence into the will bond. Then, whether it was the true demon rune main chain or the power rune main chain, what came out was the fused golden viscera. Then, Lu Kuan placed the golden light particles in the middle of the will bond and slightly urged the berserk primordial spirit to separate the fused viscera into the demon spirit's two attributes. The blood essence can be directly purified into the fused viscera, so the berserk will doesn't need to be consumed. The fused viscera can also be separated into the demon spirit's viscera at the will bond, but it needs to consume the berserk will. After confirming the conversion of the viscera, Lu Kuan injected the golden viscera into the surrounding 5 viscera islands. Feeling a special cool aura circulating in his viscera, he was pleasantly surprised. The tempering effect seems to be better than any of the previous viscera. The cultivation time can be shortened by a lot. After entering the viscera stage, his viscera also needed to be tempered. Previously, when he urged the berserk divine ability, his strength increased to the 4th elemental power in one breath. With the current strength of Lu Kuan's viscera, it was impossible for him to withstand such a terrifying power. If it wasn't for the protection of the Snow Soul twin blades, his viscera would have exploded before he could exert any strength. This golden viscera has fused 2 attributes of energy sources. Let's call it Chaos Viscera. From the looks of it, the first stage of the viscera stage cultivation should be to nurture the newly born bloodline rune. He pondered. This process is not the same as nurturing magic treasures. It's a bit like a demonic beast that has just broken through to level 8 and needs time to stabilize its body with new demonic spiritual power. I used the viscera to stabilize the newly born bloodline rune. The mature double helix bloodline rune is more stable. The sequence and structure of the power rune main chain have also changed quite a bit. I should be able to use this more stable rune main chain to optimize the bloodline separation secret technique that ordinary body cultivators use to break through the viscera. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan sighed in his heart. Ordinary body cultivators didn't have willpower in their bloodline, nor did they have the divine soul concealment divine ability to defend against the impact of willpower. If they wanted to break through to the viscera stage, the first step was to comprehend their own willpower. In today's immortal cultivation world, other than Abbot Zhiyuan, only Mo Qing of the Blue Cloud sect and Master Tsang Feng of the 13 countries of Eastern Cloud had comprehended willpower on their own. The others had all combined the willpower of others. This showed how difficult it was to comprehend the willpower. Although I have formed the bloodline primordial spirit, such a violent willpower can't be passed down to a body cultivator disciple. Even the divine soul of a pseudo-soul formation cultivator can't withstand such a terrifying willpower of 2 attributes. According to the memories on Earth, DNA has the function of replication and transcription. If the double helix bloodline rune is compared to DNA, the replication function can be used to strengthen and cultivate the bloodline, and the transcription function is to pass down the bloodline. Lu Kuan smiled bitterly in his heart. But my double helix rune can't do this at all, whether it's replication or transcription. The chain of willpower between the 2 main chains needs to be opened. Not to mention opening it, as long as the life force of the merged willpower is removed, the violent fluctuations of the divine ability will almost collapse the double helix rune. If the willpower bond is forcefully separated in this state, I'm afraid the bloodline rune that was painstakingly cultivated will be broken in half. Fortunately, they haven't entered the late stage of bone transformation. With more than 200 years left, they may be able to find other ways to pass down the will of the bloodline. Thinking of this, he turned his gaze back to the bloodline pool. After passing the initial stage of the bloodline, I can already perfect the method to break through to the viscera stage. If I continue to study it, I may gain something. Lu Kuan couldn't help but calm his mind and began to think about the next cultivation of this stage. The bloodline rune has left the initial stage, and the demonic spirit viscera has become chaotic viscera. At this time, if I continue to inject viscera into the bloodline origin of the two main chains, will the bloodline continue to grow? Without a way to refer to the replication and transcription of DNA, Lu Kuan could only continue with his previous cultivation method. While he was pondering, the golden blood essence in the sea of blood began to roll and enter the bloodline pool. Through the brand new bloodline runes, a large amount of primal chaos essence was purified. Then, these golden light spots were forcefully pushed towards the two main chains under the effect of the microscopic origin power. The resistance is so strong, Lu Kuan immediately found that the bloodline rune sent out a stronger rebounding force than before. He had to add all of his dual elemental power to the internal collapse outside the viscera ball. He kept increasing the microscopic source power, and these golden light spots slowly squeezed in. The bloodline rune trembled again, and with the infusion of chaotic viscera, every bloodline origin particle in the double helix rune expanded slightly. There's a reaction. Lu Kuan looked at the changes of the bloodline rune with some expectation. He urged the microscopic source power with all his might, and more chaotic viscera poured in. Crack! Suddenly, one of the bone ring origin particles, the part that swelled out from the side, suddenly broke. Seeing this, Lu Kuan was stunned. He found that the particle that fell out was exactly the same as the bloodline origin of the true demonic main chain. It was a smooth silver-black bone ring, and inside it was filled with pale golden fiber balls. Next, one by one, the origin particles split out from the two main chains of the bloodline rune. The origin of power separated into long strips of muscle fibers, and from the side, it could be seen that there was a shiny bone spur inside. These particles were suspended on both sides of the double helix rune. One was the exoskeleton, the bone ring particles with inner fibers, and the other was the short rod particles with outer fibers and inner bone spurs. The mature bloodline rune can split out new bloodline origin particles. Chapter 1392. Lu Kuan felt the brand new bloodline origin particles, his heart trembling, and an idea uncontrollably popped up in his mind. Since the bloodline rune can split into new origin particles, can it be used as a basic unit to condense the second double helix rune? The violent will has been successfully condensed. Using the microscopic origin power to carve the mature bone spur innards, and then using the method of breaking through in the past, splitting and recombining to increase the number of bloodline runes, so as to carry out the cultivation of the viscera origin stage? With this idea, Lu Kuan squeezed more chaotic viscera into the bloodline rune, continuing to produce more origin particles, while carefully observing the brand new bone spur innards in the ring-shaped double helix. He called this place where the primordial spirit was stored the willpower bond. The length of the willpower bond that grew from the two main chains was exactly the same. On the surface, one was the outer bone fiber, and the other was the outer bone fiber. As for the rune that came from the demon dragon blade innards, it was engraved on the willpower bond in a hollowed-out manner. Gradually, Lu Kuan split out a lot of bloodline origin particles. During this process, the chaotic viscera could only squeeze in from the boundary between the willpower bond and the main chain to split and recombine the viscera. The willpower bond can't be split out like the origin particles, so I can only use the microscopic origin power to forcibly carve it. Lu Kuan thought for a moment, and then focused his consciousness on a human origin particle. The invisible microscopic origin power surged and turned into a tiny spike, trying to carve runes on this fibrous short rod. But just as the microscopic origin power spike fell, a strange force suddenly gushed out from the surface of the origin particle, as if it contained a terrifying power, and the microscopic origin power was directly squeezed out. Repelling the microscopic origin power? Lu Kuan was stunned. He didn't expect this at all. Even if the bloodline origin particle became more solid, it would at most make it harder for his microscopic origin power to carve, but why would there be a strange repelling force? With doubts, he urged the microscopic origin power again, turning it into several invisible spikes, slowly approaching the origin particle. Where did that power go? Lu Kuan looked at the spikes that were about to land on the surface of the particle, and doubts emerged in his heart. But then, he felt the extremely terrifying repulsive force appear again, crushing the spikes condensed from the microscopic source energy. This repulsive force seems to only appear in a very small area. After he discovered this, he tried a few more times, but no matter how flexible the microscopic origin power was, it would always encounter that incomparably powerful repulsive force at the position closest to the origin particle. This power was like the origin force field of the bloodline origin particles, but the scope of the radiation was extremely small, almost sticking close to the surface of the particles. The deeper his microscopic origin force penetrated, the greater the repulsive force. To be able to repel microscopic origin energy, could it be that this energy is of the same nature as microscopic origin energy, and is also a power of the microscopic scale? Confusion flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. The nascent bloodline rune was formed by him using microscopic origin power to forcibly condense the primitive particles of the demon race and the human race. At that time, he did not try to modify the origin particle, so he was not sure if this power was a characteristic of its own. The repulsive force only acts on an extremely short distance outside the origin particle. This property, I seem to have heard of it on Earth. Lu Kuan carefully reviewed his memories. Although after entering the Zongyuan stage, he could remember many memories buried deep in his mind, but the knowledge he learned on Earth was mainly about sports physiology, and he could not find any information of a similar nature. No matter what power this is, with the microscopic origin power produced by my current dual origin power, it cannot destroy the origin particle. He sighed in his heart. This meant that the will bond could not be condensed. Even if there were more bloodline origin particles, the second double spiral bloodline rune could not be condensed. It seems that I have to find another way. Lu Kuan had derived the body refinement cultivation method to this level, and had a mature set of derivations. First, he had to choose a direction, whether to cultivate the bloodline, refine the body, or improve the body and consciousness. His goal was very clear. He had to find a way to pass the bloodline to the body refinement disciple, and perfect the method of breaking through to the Zongyuan stage, increasing the disciple's chances of breaking through. Lu Kuan's only direct disciples were Pan Yin and Huang Xiaoyun. He could not protect the previous 3 disciples, but Lu Kuan did not want to lose these 2 disciples. No matter what, he had to find a way to help them enter the Zongyuan stage. For this goal, Lu Kuan had to study the cultivation of the Zongyuan stage bloodline and try to find a solution. After choosing a direction, the second step was to boldly hypothesize a cultivation method based on the existing information. The third step was to repeatedly test whether this hypothesis was feasible, and the last step was to draw a conclusion. From the current situation, the hypothesis of creating more double spiral bloodline runes through splitting and recombination failed. Inside the mature bloodline rune, the bloodline origin particle was protected by a special power. His microscopic origin power could not transform it into a new will bond. Based on this result, Lu Kuan began to think. The cultivation of the bloodline must be to cultivate it to become denser and denser. The will bond is the carrier of the bloodline primordial spirit, and the number of organs refined will gradually increase along with cultivation. From the current situation, the will bond cannot be replicated, and there is no way to transform it. If I want it to increase, there seems to be only one way, and that is to let it grow on its own. He calmly deduced in his heart. The branches of a tree will gradually increase as it grows. Is there a way to let the bloodline rune grow? But my bloodline structure is a closed loop, and it seems to be unable to grow. He could not help but look at the bloodline pool, at the ring-shaped double spiral structure, and a bold idea suddenly appeared in his mind. Since the closed loop cannot grow, why don't I cut it in two and turn it into a long double spiral? After that, I will inject the primal chaos viscera and new origin particles into the fracture. Will the fracture of the double spiral bloodline rune automatically repair itself? Body cultivators, from the flesh refinement stage, the bone treasure stage, all the way to the bone transformation stage, have the fleshly body constantly repair itself in the midst of destruction and gradually strengthen itself. When I reach the viscera stage, will I have to follow this train of thought? If the ring-shaped double spiral bloodline rune breaks and turns into a long double spiral, the bloodline will be in a damaged state. The two fractures are equivalent to wounds. The primal chaos viscera is the energy to repair the bloodline, and the origin particles are the basic units to form the bloodline rune. It seems to meet the conditions for repair. Can this repair and growth method make the bloodline rune naturally grow a new will bond? The more Lu Kuan thought about it, the more he felt that this conjecture was likely. He focused his attention on the bloodline pool, and the ring-shaped double spiral structure surrounded by many origin particles and golden dots of light. When I broke through, the double spiral lines spontaneously connected head to tail. This means that it can be turned into a long strip. I can't cut it at the position of the will bond. The violent will inside is too terrifying. If I'm not careful, I'll trigger the violent divine ability. To be safe, I'll cut it somewhere in the middle of the two will chains. The origin particles cannot be destroyed by the microscopic origin force, but there is a gap between them that is not too big nor too small. The distance exceeds the scale of the repulsive force. I'll cut it there. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan made up his mind. Ignoring the possible risks, he turned the microscopic origin force into two invisible knives and slashed at the gap between the two main chains in the same phase. With a hum, his two microscopic knives suddenly disappeared. The double helix rune quietly floated there, unaffected. Seeing this scene, Lu Kuan was stunned. His excitement was doused with a bucket of cold water. What's going on? Why can't the microscopic origin force even cut a gap that relies on will solidification? Did it rub against the origin particles? Then he condensed two more microscopic origin force knives and fell on the two main chains again. This time, he controlled it very slowly, and all his attention was focused on the gap between the origin particles. But the moment he entered the gap, the origin force knives seemed to encounter two terrifying suction forces. They were directly torn into nothingness and disappeared in the narrow gap. What's going on? There is a special suction force between the origin particles. Then what was the repulsive force I encountered before? Lu Kuan felt that his understanding had been subverted. This double spiral bloodline rune, that had broken away from the nascent stage, seemed to have some deeper level of change that he could not understand. I clearly remember that when I was constructing the double helix bloodline rune, the origin particles in each main chain were connected by wild and brutal wills. But from the situation just now, the will fluctuations of the rune's main chain are condensed in the will bond. Lu Kuan felt a little confused. There is no will connection. In other words, between each origin particle of the main chain, it relies on that special suction force to condense. Then what does it have to do with the repulsive force that appeared on the surface of the origin particles before? Under the protection of this strange power, microscopic origin force doesn't work at all. The origin particles can't be destroyed, and I can't even cut off the main chain of the double spiral? Can't copy, can't destroy, can't recombine, then how should I cultivate the bloodline? Lu Kuan muttered in his heart. He felt that the cultivation path ahead was covered with layers of fog. He groped alone in a daze, completely unable to find the direction. Chapter 1393. After a long time, Lu Kuan suppressed the bewilderment in his heart and gradually calmed down. I must understand the characteristics of this power. In the past, due to his special talent, he did not carefully analyze the characteristics of blood essence and demonic energy, which led to the tragic deaths of several disciples during their breakthroughs. He would not make such a mistake a second time. This power exists in the bloodline rune, which means that it has a great relationship with bloodline power and bloodline abilities. It may contain the true secrets of bloodline. Lu Kuan's gaze focused on a floating human origin particle. He circulated microscopic origin power around it and began to analyze it. This mysterious power is hidden inside the origin particle. On the surface, it has a repulsive force, or a power similar to origin power, much stronger than microscopic origin power. While thinking, he took another origin particle and let the two come closer to each other. There doesn't seem to be a suction force between the two origin particles like the rune chains. Lu Kuan felt that it was strange. He hesitated for a moment, and then a violent will surged out from the will bond in the bloodline rune and entered the two origin particles. There is still no reaction. But then he thought of something and slowly brought the two particles closer. As a result, the two sides of the short rod-like origin particle suddenly had a shocking suction force, and the two instantly stuck together. This short-range suction force is actually caused by the bloodline will. Lu Kuan was amazed. He then found a few more particles to test and found that this short-range suction force had many limitations. In addition to the will, the viscera could also cause this short-range suction force, and only the cross-section of the origin particle that was mixed with bone and fiber could produce this suction force. In addition, when the true demon origin particle and the human origin particle were close, there was a strong repulsive force. Unless the violent will was injected, the two could barely stick together. This reminded Lu Kuan of the willpower bond in the middle of the double helix. That was where the two main chains were connected, and it was also where the berserk will resided. Therefore, the short-range suction force was stronger, causing the double helix to stick together. The fusion power of the willpower bond probably has the effect of life force as well. That's right, since the support of the will causes the origin particles to have a suction force, then can't I use this method to break the circular bloodline? When Lu Kuan thought of this, the berserk will in his bloodline runes rose, and the invisible microscopic source power turned into small knives that slashed down. But just like before, this invisible force still collapsed in the gaps between the particles. This won't do. After forming the bloodline primordial spirit, the soul, bloodline, and willpower will become one. The violent willpower can't completely break away from the willpower bond. It will more or less be added to the nearby origin particles. Unless my spirit and will perish, the suction force between the particles will continue to exist. He sighed inwardly and continued his analysis. The bloodline rune has always had a will. From the looks of it, this power has two attributes. One is an active short-range suction force towards the particles of the same origin, and the other is a passive origin power condensed within the particles to protect them. Although it's also a power in the microscopic state, the strength of this strange power far surpasses my microscopic source power. When he thought of this, Lu Kuan felt a sense of déjà vu. He couldn't help but recall that the bloodline rune and the will of the primordial spirit in his dantian were trembling along with his soul at this time, as if they were assisting him. His memory kept flowing backward. When he transmigrated at the age of 30, he was working at the age of 25, all the way until he was a student at the age of 17 or 18. Gradually, Lu Kuan's soul stopped fluctuating. After a while, he suddenly muttered in his heart, could it be the strong interaction? The memory he found was the content of a high school physics textbook. It briefly introduced a short-range, strong force that combined the nuclei in the nucleus of an atom. The laws of heaven and earth in the immortal cultivation world are the same as those on earth, and some are very different. The physical body origin power of a body cultivator is extremely similar to gravitational force in some aspect. I've always compared them to gravitational force to understand them. Then, can we compare the force inside the origin particle to a strong interaction? There are quarks inside the nucleus, and there is a strong force at work inside. This is very similar to the force inside the bloodline origin particle. If the bloodline origin particle is compared to a kind of nucleus, and the convergence between nuclei relies on the strong interaction, the bloodline rune that combines countless bloodline origin nuclei together is equivalent to a giant bloodline atomic nucleus. When he thought of this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but look at the bloodline rune. He felt the passive magical power fluctuations of the violent bloodline, and an idea flashed in his mind. The bloodline magical power fluctuations produced by the bloodline atomic nucleus, can it be treated as some kind of radiation of the atomic nucleus? The atomic nucleus produces radiation due to decay, and if I extrapolate it backwards, the bloodline is also in a special state of decay. I don't seem to have noticed this change. Is it because I'm nurturing the bloodline, or is it because the decay cycle of the bloodline is extremely long, and it's difficult to notice in a short period of time? The bloodline of a monster will become thinner and thinner as it is passed down from generation to generation. Is this a manifestation of the decay of the bloodline? As more and more questions popped up in Lu Kuan's mind, he felt that this conjecture was very close to the truth. If that's the case, then let's assume that this conjecture is correct. I'll re-examine the bloodline rune from the beginning to see if it's logical. First, I'll rename the various components of the bloodline rune. The bloodline origin particles are called blood nuclei, and the strong interaction force inside them is called blood core force. The bloodline rune is called bloodline atomic nucleus, and its rune structure is the special structure of this atomic nucleus. After Lu Kuan redefined these components, he recalled the bloodline rune that he had seen before. The power rune of the long-armed ape monkey is a kind of bloodline atomic nucleus that is absorbed by the blood core force under the enhancement of the frenzy will. Its structure is hyperboloid. The passive power it produces is a special kind of radiation. The more bloodline atomic nuclei there are, the stronger the radiation. When all the bloodline atomic nuclei in the bloodline pool are hyperboloid rune structures, the passive power increase reaches the maximum. However, the active power of the devil-ape transformation seems to be somewhat different. Lu Kuan couldn't help but fall into deep thought. When the devil-ape transformation is activated, all the atomic nuclei in the bloodline pool, under the injection of the true devil will, form a vortex that seems to be constantly converging toward the center. The convergence of the atomic nuclei. Thinking of this, he was suddenly dumbfounded. Isn't this nuclear fusion? Nuclear fusion is the process of two small atomic nuclei condensing into a larger atomic nucleus and releasing energy at the same time. The bloodline pool of the long-armed ape monkey is composed of many power rune particles, which is equivalent to a large number of bloodline atomic nuclei. These bloodline atomic nuclei rely on the nuclear force generated by the frenzy will to condense. Their wills are repelled by the true devil will, so there is no way for them to completely fuse. They can only be in a kind of vortex half-converged state. Therefore, it is a kind of reaction similar to nuclear fusion. The release of energy should be far inferior to real fusion. Even so, the devil-ape transformation's power is incomparably terrifying. Lu Kuan pondered and couldn't help but look at his own double helix rune. The rune of the long-armed ape monkey is a bloodline atomic nucleus. Then, isn't the ring-shaped double helix structure that condenses all the blood nuclei a special kind of bloodline-heavy atomic nucleus? The bloodline fusion during my breakthrough is actually the fusion of two large atomic nuclei. This process requires a large amount of energy to be absorbed, so when I was refining my bloodline primordial spirit, I absorbed a lot of yuan qi of heaven and earth. And when the will bond connecting the two heavy atomic nuclei is about to break, the heavy atomic nucleus will be in a half-split state and will release a large amount of energy. Lu Kuan muttered to himself. In other words, the essence of the frenzy divine ability is actually a kind of fission reaction of the bloodline atomic nucleus. Chapter 1394. If we follow this strange bloodline nucleus theory, all the mysteries of the bloodline seem to make sense. Lu Kuan continued to think in his mind. The rules of the immortal cultivation world are different from those of the earth, but there are also similarities. For example, many characteristics of the physical origin force are similar to gravity, but there are also many differences. Now the blood nucleus force of the blood source is similar to the strong interaction, but the former needs the blessing of the will or the viscera to release the power of the condensed nucleus, otherwise it will only be hidden inside the blood nucleus. In addition to gravity and the strong interaction, there are two basic forces on Earth, the weak interaction and the electromagnetic force. Do these two forces also manifest in some special way in the immortal cultivation world? Lu Kuan's thoughts were a little scattered, but the memory of physics in the depths of his soul stopped at high school. He only had a simple understanding of the four basic forces on Earth. As for the weak interaction, he only knew the name. After a while, he discarded the chaotic thoughts in his mind and thought seriously, since I have the theoretical support of the Earth, then I will treat the bloodline as a special kind of atomic nucleus. I will use the nuclear method to understand the power of the bloodline. Lu Kuan began to summarize. My double spiral blood ring rune is equivalent to a giant blood nucleus. It is in a state of decay, constantly surging outward with radiation. This powerful radiation is filtered by the 5 viscera island and enters the blood essence C in a special form, causing the physical strength to surge to the terrifying double level. At this time, he found that many things became clear. Body cultivators simply cultivate the body itself, and there is a limit to the strength. In the realm of the bone treasure stage, 400,000 gene is a threshold. Without the void force of the physical body, there is no way the physical body can fully exert the strength of 400,000 gene. At the peak of the bone transformation stage, body cultivators and devil generals of the demon race have all cultivated the physical body to the level of maturity comparable to the bone treasure. But even so, the physical strength of the physical body is cultivated to more than 1 million gene at most. At this time, if the body cultivator wants to obtain stronger strength, he must rely on the power of blood. In other words, he needs the radiation of the blood to provide stronger strength to the body. The 5 viscera islands are a special base station that transfers the radiation of the bloodline. Only through it can this kind of energy be added to the body. The first time I used the full yuan force, my internal organs were severely injured. That was because my internal organs were not strong enough to withstand the radiation of the devil-ape transformation. The more Lu Kuan thought about it, the clearer his logic became. The strength of the internal organs of a body cultivator is different from the strength of muscles and bones. It refers to the ability of the internal organs to withstand the radiation of the bloodline. The stronger the internal organs are, the more they can withstand the radiation of the bloodline. Only then can the body become stronger with the support of the bloodline. My rampage technique, on the other hand, is an even more powerful radiation. The double helix giant bloodline nucleus is in a temporary state of nuclear fission under the effect of the life force and the violent will. In this state of bloodline fission, in addition to radiating even more terrifying energy, the physical body and divine sense are also affected by the impact, fusing into every part of the body, increasing the reaction speed to the extreme. When the physical body is in a special state of consciousness and senses, every part of the body will accumulate this incomparably powerful fission energy. In the end, by doubling the strength, it will explode all at once. If not for the bones containing the silver dragon meteorite iron, coupled with the origin force field squeezing inwards to maintain the solid form of the flesh and blood, the physical body would probably have been smashed to pieces under the explosion of this power. As the transfer base station of this fission energy, the internal organs bear even more enormous pressure. With the help of the Snow Soul twin blades, they barely did not collapse. Lu Kuan whispered softly in his heart. From passive to active, the cultivation of the internal organs, the generation of the bloodline, the cultivation of the Zongyuan stage is essentially the process of strengthening and using the nuclear energy of the bloodline. After analyzing to this point, Lu Kuan felt as if the clouds and mist had been lifted to see the light of day. The cultivation direction of the Zongyuan stage seemed to have become clear. It could be divided into 2 points. The first was to strengthen the bloodline and increase the radiation intensity of the bloodline. The second was to strengthen the internal organs, allowing this base station to support the body with stronger radiation. The second is relatively simple. The strength of the internal organs can be strengthened through the internal organs. As for the first, just like when I transformed all the bloodline runes of the Tongbi demon ape into strength runes, increasing the number of bloodline runes or increasing the size of the bloodline nucleus can increase the radiation intensity. This is back to the previous step where I was stuck. I need to cut open this ring-shaped bloodline nucleus and use the internal organs and blood nuclei to grow during the repair process. This will extend the length of the bloodline ring and strengthen the radiation of the berserk bloodline. Although it was the same problem, Lu Kuan thought about it from a different perspective. Even if the ring-shaped bloodline nucleus is cut open, it is still a whole body. The berserk divine ability divides it into 2. The former should not cause any nuclear fission reaction. Splitting the nucleus is done by bombarding it with neutrons. There is a single blood nucleus in the bloodline pool. If I use the scattered blood nuclei to hit the nuclei at the same position on the 2 main chains, can I cut open the ring-shaped structure? Thinking of this, he used the microscopic origin force to lift a true demon blood nucleus and hit it hard on the nucleus of a main chain. Clang, as a result, the blood nucleus was bounced away. It did not shake the bloodline nucleus at all. After that, he tried a few more methods, but neither the blood nuclei of the demon race nor the blood nuclei of the human race could do anything to this giant bloodline nucleus. Not enough energy? Or is the microscopic origin force too weak? Lu Kuan sighed in his heart. The knowledge in his memory was only superficial. He did not know the specific method of bombarding neutrons. The double helix structure of the berserk bloodline is too stable, which makes this giant bloodline nucleus extremely stable. The energy of a single blood nucleus is too small under the enhancement of the microscopic origin force. There is no way to hit the nucleus on the double helix away. Right, there is no way to hit the nucleus away, but I can destroy one of the nuclei. An idea flashed in his mind. He suddenly remembered that when he helped Xiao Jin solve the hidden problem of the six-eared macaque, the latter's terrifying bloodline-devouring divine ability had directly sucked half of the bloodline origin particles dry. At that time, the bloodline origin particles were still in the newborn state. I wonder if the mature blood nuclei can be affected by the divine ability of the six-eared macaque. He murmured in his heart. Based on the theory of the bloodline nucleus, the divine ability of the six-eared macaque is a special kind of active radiation. Although the devouring and duplication runes in the little monkey's body have all disappeared, I remember the strange rune structure clearly. I have so many scattered blood nuclei. I can definitely form the bloodline nucleus of the six-eared macaque and simulate the devouring divine ability of the bloodline. Lu Kun recalled the strange runes he saw in Xiao Jin's bloodline pool and felt a little excited. He had analyzed the bloodline runes that the Demon King used to hide his divine soul. At that time, he was wondering why the bloodline divine ability of the demon race could combine the bloodline origin particles with the demon's viscera. Now, with the theory of the bloodline nucleus, he immediately understood. The viscera and will were the same. They could activate the absorption ability of the blood nuclei. The divine ability of the demon race was to combine the blood nuclei with the help of the viscera to form a beehive-like nucleus. The radiation effect of the nucleus was to hide the demon's soul. At the same time, the radiation would leave energy in the demon's soul. If it came into contact with the soul-searching power, it would explode and self-destruct. The basic bloodline runes of the six-eared macaque are crescent-shaped. The origin particles are long and oval. They are formed by activating the blood nuclei with the will of frenzy. I want to simulate the devouring divine ability. It's best to use the blood nuclei of the human race. The compatibility of the bloodline is the most suitable for this devouring divine ability. He recalled the scene in Xiao Jin's bloodline pool. The microscopic origin energy surged and the short rod-like fibers gathered together. The pale golden chaotic viscera also surged over. The human blood nuclei emitted a pale golden light. A short-range force appeared at the end of their tails. They combined with each other. Also, according to the amount of viscera injected, the blood nuclei could slightly change their direction. After a while, a half-moon rune with a barb appeared in the bloodline pool. A strange wave emerged from it. However, under the influence of the berserk bloodline, this wave could not spread out. It could only be maintained on the surface. This is the wave of the divine ability of the spiritual ear? It seems to be in conflict with the radiation of the berserk bloodline. He could clearly feel that the radiation of the berserk bloodline was trying to destroy this rune. If it was not for the protection of the microscopic origin energy, the rune would have been destroyed. Lu Kun felt a little regretful. The radiation of the berserk bloodline is too strong. Even if I condense the blood nuclei of the six-eared macaque into a bloodline pool, I'm afraid I won't be able to withstand the radiation of the berserk bloodline. Even if I can simulate it, I won't be able to use the spiritual ear. The bloodline pool can only contain one type of radiation for a long time. This is the basic divine ability rune of the six-eared macaque. Its devouring bloodline divine ability is a dynamic change under the influence of the will of enmity. As Lu Kun thought, he used the microscopic origin energy to protect this small bloodline nuclei. At the same time, he continued to create new bloodline runes. Gradually, a total of 6 crescent-shaped bloodline structures appeared in the bloodline pool. They were a little like the outline of an ear. He recalled the scene of the bloodline being devoured and murmured in his heart. The devouring divine ability of the six-eared macaque, in a way, is similar to the failed nuclear fusion of the demonic ape. Following Qin Fan's thought, the 6 crescent-shaped bloodline nuclei moved closer to each other, especially one of the barbed tails. At the same time, Lu Kuan separated a few balls of violent will and placed them on each of the tails. Unlike the viscera, the will had a greater effect on the blood core force. With the help of the will, the blood nuclei at the end of the 6 hooked tails immediately emitted a powerful short-range GN force and merged with each other. The 6 crescent-shaped runes formed a strange structure. It looked like a flower with 6 petals, but also like a claw with 6 barbed tails. As the runes took shape, the golden viscera in the surrounding area seemed to be attracted by them. They gathered around the strange bloodline nuclei, and a faint sense of devouring energy appeared. It works! Lu Kuan was overjoyed. However, he soon noticed that the runes had started to tremble. It was being attacked by the radiation of the berserk bloodline and was about to collapse at any time. The radiation of the berserk bloodline is too strong. This 6-eared nucleus won't last long. With a thought, under the enhancement of the microscopic origin power, the 6-eared petals quickly approached one of the main chains of the double helix bloodline, like a mouth with 6 sharp teeth that was about to gnaw on some food. However, this strange mouth kept shaking and could not be closed. I can't do anything to the smaller nuclei, but I can still suppress this tiny bloodline rune. Under Lu Kuan's control, the microscopic power source in the surrounding area surged toward the 6-eared petal like a giant hand. It was like a giant hand was pressing down on the 6-eared petal and forcefully closing it in the middle. Crack! The 6-eared rune bit on one of the origin particles of the berserk bloodline's main chain. A strange invisible force gushed out from it. The nucleus that was bitten trembled slightly and quickly shriveled, as if it was deflated. Chapter 1395. When the human blood core dried up, a smaller, brand-new blood core appeared in the center of the petal. It was also in the shape of a short stick with fiber outside and bone inside. Except that it was a bit smaller, there was basically no difference between the 2 blood cores. Lu Kuan was surprised to see this. Through the microscopic source energy, he could sense that the new blood core still contained a strong GN force, swallowing and transferring the blood core out of the double helix bloodline. This ability is amazing. Even the powerful GN force inside could not stop it. He could not help but think of the scene when he fused with Xiao Jin's bloodline pool. At that time, the devouring rune inside Xiao Jin's body was biting the double helix bloodline rune in 2 rows. When the flowers closed, it could be considered as a fusion reaction. However, the devouring rune was able to swallow and transfer GN force. However, since the resentment will needed to resist the radiation of the berserk bloodline, it consumed a lot of GN force. Lu Kuan was horrified when he thought of this. If the resentment will was strong enough, the 6-ear petal rune would be able to live outside the double helix bloodline rune and devour all of my blood cores. Then, it would replicate the double helix bloodline rune. Luckily, Xiao Jin was only in the middle phase of the bone transformation stage. If it had reached the viscera stage, the newborn bloodline would not be able to resist it. The 6-eared macaque's innate divine ability is really terrifying. While Lu Kuan was thinking, the blood core that was bitten by the devouring rune became more and more shriveled. The GN force inside the blood core decreased rapidly. The absorption force between the blood core and the 2 particles around it weakened, causing the main chain to shake. Seeing this, Lu Kuan quickly moved the 6-ear petal rune away. At the same time, he spat out the blood core in the center of the flower. Using the same method, he moved the devouring rune to the other main chain. Soon, 2 similarly shriveled demonic humans' blood cores appeared in the middle of the 2 will bond. There were also cracks on them. Because the blood core was damaged, a strange suction force gushed out from the bloodline rune, trying to absorb the chaotic viscera in the surroundings to repair it. Seeing this, Lu Kuan removed the protection of the six-eared petal rune with the microscopic origin power. This temporarily constructed rune was soon shattered under the impact of the violent bloodline radiation and turned into basic blood nuclei. Then, he condensed his microscopic origin energy into two invisible origin energy knives and slashed down at the two shriveled particles. Kacha, accompanied by a faint crisp sound, the indestructible double helix rune directly broke from the middle. It was as if a dam had been opened, and a terrifying flow of energy radiated out from the opening. Although this energy was not as strong as the Berserk God Art, it was much stronger than normal passive radiation. Lu Kuan did not have the time to examine the effects of this blast of radiation. The moment the double helix broke, he felt his spirit being ruthlessly slashed by a knife. It was filled with an incomparably intense feeling of being torn apart, almost causing his spirit to leave his internal organs and dantian. Fortunately, this was only an intense pain. Although his spirit was a little weak, it did not suffer any essential damage. After a while, Lu Kuan gradually came back to his senses. Only now did he feel that his entire body had swelled up. His muscle fibers, blood, and even bones were filled with a terrifying energy. He was like a human-shaped magic treasure that had swelled up. If his body was only at the early or middle stage of bone transformation, the impact of this energy alone would have destroyed his body. Then his attention shifted to the bloodline pool. He saw that the broken double helix was emitting a golden light, wrapping around the four demonic blood core particles, as if it was undergoing some kind of repair. At this time, the fluctuations of the bloodline radiation had dropped to a very low level, even difficult to detect. The radiation is too low, isn't it my strength? Lu Kuan was a little flustered, but then he noticed that his body still had the power of dual origin level. It seemed to be caused by the energy stored in his body that had just erupted. He breathed a sigh of relief. He did not expect that the broken ring-shaped bloodline rune would have such a change. First, his spirit was severely damaged, and second, the bloodline radiation was greatly reduced. The energy absorbed in my body is much gentler than the Rage God Art. It can last for a while. During this time, I must complete the repair of the bloodline. Otherwise, if I lose more than 1 yuan of strength, I will not be able to enter my internal organs and dantian. Lu Kuan was very dignified. His mind surged, and the microscopic source force turned into 2 palms, slightly pulling the broken ring-shaped double helix apart, to prevent them from being stuck together due to the short-range GN force before the repair was completed. Next, the broken ring-shaped double helix was quietly suspended in the bloodline pool. The 4 broken ends were all wrapped by the golden light spots of the internal organs. Gradually, new origin particles appeared in the place where the blood cores were originally swallowed. A short-range suction force gushed out from them, but because the 2 broken ends were too far away, beyond the effective range of the GN force, the broken ends did not gather together. It recovered so quickly. I lost 2 blood cores, and now there are 4 new ones, which means that 2 new blood cores have grown. If I close them now, the distance between the willpower bonds will not be symmetrical. Let's wait for a while. Lu Kuan's mind moved, and he continued to send the scattered blood cores to the broken ends. The 2 main chains of the double helix trembled slightly, and the broken ends emitted a golden light, just like before, and started to repair themselves. Time passed bit by bit. It was as if there were 2 invisible needles and threads inside the bloodline pool, absorbing the surrounding internal organs and blood cores, and weaving the 2 main chains of the double helix. New blood cores gradually appeared on the chains. Gradually, the 4 broken ends of the double helix reached the location of the willpower bonds almost at the same time. They absorbed 3 blood cores and turned into 4 spheres that were 1 size bigger than the other blood cores. But at this moment, the repair process seemed to be stuck halfway. No matter how much internal organs Lu Kuan injected, there was no change at all. What's going on? Can't the willpower bonds be formed? There's not much energy left in my body anymore. Lu Kuan suppressed the anxiety in his heart and carefully observed the 4 huge blood cores at the broken ends. He found that there was an even stronger GN force surging inside of them, and the violent willpower of the surrounding blood cores had been transferred to them. Could it be Lu Kuan seemed to have understood something? The microscopic source energy that was stuck in the double helix started to move closer and closer to the broken ends of the double helix. At the same time, it actively rotated the double helix into a spiral shape. Poof! The broken ends of the 2 main chains merged together, and the huge blood cores that were previously stagnant began to twist and slowly extend towards the opposite main chains. At the same time, Lu Kuan suddenly felt his bloodline Yuan Shen trembling violently. There was an extremely itchy feeling, which was completely different from the previous tearing feeling. It was as if it was also splitting and growing. A terrifying suction force surged out from the pair of willpower bonds that were being formed. In addition to the internal organs around the island, the sea of blood essence outside of the island also surged violently. The rich blood essence entered the bloodline pool, but it did not transform into internal organs. Instead, it rushed directly towards the willpower bonds that were growing. After only 10 breaths, a brand new pair of willpower bonds appeared. One was wrapped in fiber and the other was made of exoskeleton. Naturally, there were mysterious runes carved on them. Lu Kuan's numb bloodline Yuan Shen also stopped trembling. It seemed to have grown a little, and the increased part happened to be stored on the brand new pair of willpower bonds. At this time, the radiation of the violent bloodline also returned to its normal state. Lu Kuan felt all of this and was pleasantly surprised. The growth of the bloodline Yuan Shen and the lengthening of the bloodline nuclei, it's just as I've deduced. This is the cultivation method of the Zhongyuan bloodline. Chapter 1396. Lu Kuan exited the Dantian state and carefully sensed his body. He was amazed. He also realized that his body seemed to have improved slightly. If it wasn't for his strong perception, he wouldn't have noticed it. Could it be because of that energy shock? The radiation shock wave produced by the rupture of the blood vessels also has a tempering effect on the body? He checked his body again and found that it was indeed so. Although the energy just now existed for a short period of time, it was different from the violent divine ability. It was much gentler and allowed the various parts of his body to absorb some of it. The repair of the rupture of the blood vessels has such an effect. Lu Kuan thought for a while and waved his hand. A jade slip appeared in front of him and he started to record. The first step of the Zhongyuan stage's cultivation is to nurture the bloodline and inject the Zhongyuan stage with microscopic origin energy. This process takes about 30 years. When the bloodline can split the blood nucleus, it will enter the mature stage. The second step is to condense the hexer bloodline runes and sever the ring-shaped blood nuclei. At this time, a special blood shock wave will appear and provide energy to the body to maintain the 1 yuan force. Next, by injecting the Zhongyuan and blood nuclei, the blood nuclei will repair the ring-shaped blood vessels. When a brand new willpower bond is formed, a small cycle of cultivation will be completed. Next, by injecting the Zhongyuan and blood nuclei, this cycle will continue to grow until it reaches a certain limit. As for the third step of cultivation, it is to temper the internal organs and inject the Zhongyuan into the 5 viscera islands. Only by increasing the strength of the internal organs can they withstand the stronger radiation of the blood vessels. After recording all this, Lu Kuan felt much more relaxed. Everything in front of him was no longer foggy, and he could barely see the direction of cultivation. Although he didn't know how to break through to the middle stage of the Zhongyuan stage, according to his current cultivation method, he would definitely reach a certain threshold. At that time, he would have to find a way to break through to the middle stage. Now that I have the cultivation method of the early stage of the Zhongyuan stage, and understand the essence of the Zhongyuan stage, I can reverse engineer the breakthrough method of ordinary body cultivators. I have to ensure that other body cultivators can also cultivate according to this method after breaking through to the Zhongyuan stage. Lu Kuan took a deep breath and began to review his breakthrough and cultivation. He began to think about it from the perspective of an ordinary body cultivator. Previously, I was like a blind man trying to figure out an elephant, unable to fully understand the mysteries of the bloodline. It was only by relying on the bloodline of the long-armed demon ape and the divine soul concealment ability that I was able to break through to my current realm by chance. Now, I need to come up with a systematic breakthrough procedure for the viscera. He took out another jade slip and recorded the information inside. In the early and middle stages of bone transformation, body cultivators cultivate their entire body to the level of a magic treasure at the mature stage. It can be said that they have cultivated their body to the extreme on a material level. With such a foundation, the bloodline blast that just appeared can be absorbed by the body, which is like a magical equipment. There are two main purposes for cultivating the strength of the internal organs at the late stage of bone transformation. One is to be able to withstand the anti-collapse force of Yuan force, which is to let the microscopic source power enter. The second is to be able to withstand the radiation of the Zhongyuan bloodline. Otherwise, the internal organs will wither due to the strong radiation. The internal organs, the body, and the consciousness are all the foundation for the breakthrough of the Zhongyuan stage. But other than these, it is not enough. There is another big prerequisite for the breakthrough of the Zhongyuan stage, and that is the comprehension of the power of will. Lu Kuan paused at this time. After a while, he continued to record. With the power of will, one can break through to the Zhongyuan stage. The main process is to use methods such as bloodline differentiation and fusion to carve the corresponding power blood pattern outside the internal organ ball. From there, it will be mapped to the internal organs and condense the hyperboloid structure of the bloodline nucleus. Finally, the bloodline primordial spirit will be smelted. When he recorded this, Lu Kuan suddenly remembered the feeling of the soul being torn when the ring-shaped bloodline broke. He had a realization in his heart. In the Zhongyuan stage, the bloodline nucleus, will, and the soul have all fused into a whole. To successfully achieve this state, the bloodline nucleus must also be a single whole. In other words, the hyperboloid structure of the power rune cannot be scattered like the long-armed demon ape. Instead, it must be connected and become a giant ring-shaped structure. If the bloodline nucleus is not a single whole, then the smelting of the bloodline primordial spirit will forcibly divide the soul into hundreds of parts and fuse them with each hyperboloid rune. When he thought of this, Lu Kuan's hand that was holding the jade slip trembled slightly. He felt a piercing chill in his heart. When he was in the pseudo-Zhongyuan stage, there were at least hundreds of power runes in the bloodline pool. If it was not for the Beihan fairy's will that stopped him from breaking through, his soul would have been torn into pieces during the smelting of the bloodline primordial spirit. Lu Kuan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. The bloodline primordial spirit is a divine power unique to body cultivators. The long-armed demon ape, six-eared macaque, and other powerful monsters do not have a bloodline primordial spirit, so their souls do not need to fuse with the bloodline. The bloodline rune is a small, scattered bloodline nucleus. Body cultivators have to condense a giant bloodline nucleus because of the bloodline primordial spirit. Fortunately, Pan Yen and the others are not as powerful as me, so there is still some time before they break through. Otherwise, they would have died if they had used my old method. After a while, Lu Kuan calmed down and continued to think. If that's the case, then the correct power rune structure should connect all the hyperboloid runes together, like two intersecting curves, head to tail, forming a ring structure. If my double helix bloodline is a three-dimensional spiral, then the bloodline rune formed by normal body cultivators is a two-dimensional view of the double helix. It looks like two twisted rings intersecting. If they don't need to smelt their will, the intersection of the two rings should be the location of the will bond. However, their will bond might be a circular point. Lu Kuan recorded the rune structure in his mind into the jade slip. After completing this ring-shaped bloodline nucleus, there will be bloodline radiation, which will allow the body cultivator to enter the first origin stage and manifest his internal organs and dantian. Next is the smelting of the bloodline primordial spirit. All the physical body and consciousness will enter the position of the will bond, absorbing the chi of heaven and earth and fusing with the bloodline nucleus. After passing this step, I will completely enter the viscera origin stage. After recording this, Lu Kuan frowned slightly. Among these three steps, the last step of smelting the bloodline primordial spirit was the easiest. However, the first two steps were extremely difficult for normal body cultivators. One was the comprehension of the willpower, and the other was the condensation of the bloodline rune. Needless to say, geniuses who could comprehend the will on their own were extremely rare among immortal cultivators, not to mention body cultivators who did not have a nascent soul. I can already cut off my own ring-shaped bloodline. If I continue to grow and cultivate, can I split a small violent bloodline nucleus and pass on the violent will to my body cultivator disciples? Traditional immortal cultivators can integrate the will of others through the nascent soul. Can I create a special bloodline structure and forcibly bind the other will and transfer it to my disciple's bloodline? Lu Kuan pondered for a while and analyzed the second difficult point. When normal body cultivators condense the bloodline rune, they can't see their internal organs and dantian. They can only try to separate and combine the bloodline rune, but there is no guarantee of success. After all, everyone's will is different, and so is the origin of the bloodline. In that case, can I use the demonic human blood core and primal chaos viscera to imitate the body cultivator disciples' ring-shaped power runes in my dantian, and use some sort of replication method to help them successfully form their power bloodline? Next, Lu Kuan continued to absorb the chi of heaven and earth and cultivate in the viscera origin stage. Chapter 1397. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, more than 150 years had passed since the Second Great Demon War. In these years, due to the popularization of the Vajra esoteric art, the cultivation world had undergone tremendous changes. All immortal cultivators who met the requirements for cultivation would cultivate this introductory body tempering technique, let alone mortal martial artists. However, due to the limitations of spiritual roots, natural endowments, and resources, only a small number of martial artists could cultivate to the martial saint realm. Even so, considering the terrifying number of mortals, the number of martial saints was also unimaginable. These mortals relied on their powerful physical bodies and the spirit-controlling immortal artifacts sold by the Southwest Chamber of Commerce to possess the strength to rival chi condensation cultivators. A small half of them tried their best to join the body refining pavilion. The rest, due to geographical reasons, joined various cultivation sects and worked hard to fuse with Tool's spiritual root. Due to the large number of martial saints, the cultivation world's resources suddenly became scarce. In the past 100 years, in order to obtain sufficient resources and materials for Tool's spiritual roots, human cultivators began to expand their territory in the sea. In the southwest cultivation world, where the body refining pavilion was located, cultivators even occupied the inner and outer seas west of Chu and built artificial islands. The cultivation sects of the Great Zhou dynasty expanded to the 5 dragon seas. The cultivators of the 13 countries of Eastern Cloud entered the West Sea domain. But strangely, in the face of the human invasion, the intelligent Sea clan did not have any thoughts of resistance. Instead, the Demon King-level existences took the initiative to lead their clansmen into the deep sea domain to prevent conflicts with the human race. The sea domain of the cultivation world was extremely vast. The human race had only occupied 20% to 30% of it. The remaining area was enough for the Sea clan to survive. As the resources of the human race became more and more plentiful, coupled with the method of weapon spiritual roots shared by the body refining pavilion, there were even mortal cultivators who had reached the core formation stage. The entire immortal cultivation world showed signs of flourishing development. Among the various immortal cultivation sects, the Buddhist sect developed the fastest. They had the largest number of martial sages other than the body refining pavilion. It was rumored that they even had mortal immortal cultivators who had cultivated to the late core formation stage. On this day, a strange purple-black pill furnace sat in one of the caves in Huatian Temple. Other than the bottom of the pill furnace, the outer shell didn't look like it was made of metal. Instead, it looked like a strange layer of flesh and blood that looked like muscle fibers. From time to time, it would tremble once or twice. It looked very strange. There were 3 figures standing around the cauldron. One of them was the abbot of Huatian Temple, Abbot Zhiyuan. This fat monk had his palms placed together. His body was surging with the mana of a peak grand cultivator. He was controlling a golden nascent soul true fire to burn under the cauldron. Li Qianfeng stood in another direction. The muscles of his right arm contracted slightly, and a layer of black light covered his skin. His palm was pressed against the alchemy furnace, seemingly unafraid of the high temperature. Through the distorted air, one could see a special energy continuously pouring into the deformed flesh layer of the pill furnace arm. The last person was a young monk. Although he looked to be in his 20s, his body was even stronger than Li Qianfeng's. His loose monk's robe couldn't hide his rock-like muscles. The young monk's body was surging with the mana of a late core formation cultivator. His hands formed a special seal in front of him as he chanted a mysterious incantation. After an unknown amount of time, the pill furnace trembled slightly. A special blood chi power soared into the sky. The 3 people around him were overjoyed. Almost at the same time, they withdrew the energy in their bodies and took a step back. Success! Li Qianfeng looked at the pill furnace and was stunned for a moment. Then, he waved his hand and opened the lid of the pill furnace. 10 purple pills with dark red stripes floated out. Each of them was the size of a fist. In addition to the vigorous blood chi power, there was a bright purple light flashing between the stripes. It seemed to contain some kind of pure energy. Seniorly, whether it was a success or not, we'll know once Hui Ming has a taste. The young monk licked his lips and looked at the pills floating in the air with longing. Li Qianfeng nodded and a pill floated over. The little monk called Hui Ming opened his mouth wide and swallowed the fist-sized pill in one gulp. Immediately after, he sat down cross-legged. His entire body's muscles were twisted and blue veins appeared, flowing with a kind of black energy. This energy flowed through the capillaries in his muscles and outlined a black network outside of Hui Ming's body. An evil and greedy aura roiled inside. It expanded and contracted slightly like a living creature, devouring the pill that had just entered his body. Li Qianfeng and Abbot Zhiyuan watched from the side without blinking. One of them condensed a ball of dark purple energy in front of his arm, while the other formed a seal in his hand. It seemed as if he was ready to rescue Hui Ming at any time. Time passed quietly. Hui Ming's muscles trembled under the black network of veins and gradually expanded. His loose monk's robe was squeezed by a majestic force and tears began to appear on it. Boom! Suddenly, a light explosion sounded. The young monk's robe was torn apart, revealing an exaggerated and deformed rock-like muscle. The black veins on it were like pythons coiling between the rock. Just as Li Qianfeng and Abbot Zhiyuan were about to do something, Hui Ming's muscles suddenly stopped expanding. Instead, they began to shrink. The evil aura in the veins was also rapidly decreasing. These black pythons continued to shrink along with the muscles, turning into tiny black snakes. They slithered on the surface of the recovered muscles as if they wanted to do something. However, under the stimulation of Hui Ming's core formation stage mana, they converged towards his chest like swallows returning to their nest. Not long after, they turned into a ball of black energy. This energy was faintly discernible and emitted the aura of a foundation establishment stage mana. It flickered a few times and finally disappeared into his sternum. Hui Ming opened his eyes. They flashed with excitement as he said, "It really succeeded. Under the stimulation of the pill, my chi and blood mana directly entered the foundation establishment stage. According to Senior's summary, it was successfully gathered into my sternum. Disciple's body should have reached the body cultivator's bone-tempering stage." When Li Qianfeng heard this, he carefully sensed Monk Hui Ming's aura and muttered, "I didn't expect that my fantasy back then would come true. The origin energy extracted from the demon race's accompanying demonic energy can be refined into a special pill. In this way, not only is it convenient to store, but it also greatly increases the cultivation speed of dual body and energy cultivation. It is completely possible to cultivate the body to the bone treasure stage and achieve the Pavilion Master and Great Elder's expectations." Abbot Zhiyuan sighed. "We tried so many times before, but all of them failed. After changing to a new pill furnace, we succeeded in just 2 tries." Then he asked curiously, "Fellow Li, what is the name of this pill furnace that you refined? It is so strange. The refining method also seems to be different from traditional refining technique." Li Qianfeng returned to his senses and looked at the strange pill furnace wrapped in a layer of black muscles. He sighed. "This is a special battle treasure that can only be refined by a bone transformation stage body cultivator. In addition to the body cultivator's own flesh and blood and the bones of demon soldiers of level 5 and above, it also needs the life energy bestowed by the heavenly tribulation when the body cultivator goes through the tribulation. Only then can it be refined successfully. I, Li Qianfeng, cultivate a body refining demon technique. The energy bestowed by the heavenly tribulation is different from that of other disciples. Its main function is to stabilize mana and blood. I already have the demon arm refined by the Pavilion Master, but I haven't refined a battle treasure in these years. We failed so many times before because we couldn't stabilize the conflict between the demon race's origin energy and other herbs. I suddenly had the idea to use the life energy of the body refining demon technique as the material and the refining method of a battle treasure to refine a pill furnace to balance out the conflicts in refining pills. I didn't expect to hit the jackpot." Abbot Zhiyuan put his palms together and said, "Great spiritual overlord Buddha, at present, we are only using the origin energy of low-level demon soldiers to refine. It can help Hui Ming break through the bottleneck of his body. As the level of the origin energy increases, this series of pills may even be helpful to high-level body cultivators." This pill was completely refined with Fellow Li's help. "Fellow Taoist, why don't you give it a name?" Li Qianfeng looked at the 10 pills floating above the pill furnace. He thought for a moment and said, "Its main material is the demon race's origin energy. Let's call it the demon pill." Chapter 1398. Demonic Energy Pills. Monk Hui Ming widened his eyes as he stared at the fist-sized pills. His eyes shone brightly. He wiped the corner of his mouth, puffed up his muscular chest, and said in a righteous tone, "Brother Hui Ming." He said righteously, Seniorly, although these demonic energy pills have been successfully refined, there are still some impurities in them. It's very slow to absorb them. It can be seen that the ratio of materials can still be optimized. This disciple is willing to take the risk and try the remaining pills to perfect the refining method of the demonic energy pills. Li Qianfeng was stunned. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Take it, take it. The first batch of demonic energy pills was originally made for you. Then, he threw the pills over and asked in a strange tone, Master Abbot, your disciple is really born with wisdom. Why does he always look so sanctimonious? Abbot Ji Yuan smiled. Being born with wisdom has nothing to do with one's character. Hui Ming has been like this since he was young. As he spoke, the fat monk looked at Hui Ming with a doting gaze. Li Qianfeng couldn't help but think of the monk's cultivation speed. Although he had witnessed the monk's cultivation process for more than 100 years, he still couldn't help but be amazed every time he thought of it. Hui Ming was originally a young novice monk in a secular temple. He was naturally intelligent and had an extremely high comprehension of Buddhism. When he was 10 years old, he had memorized all kinds of Buddhist scriptures by heart. When he was 20 years old, his attainments in Buddhism were not inferior to the old monk in the temple who was in the foundation establishment stage. Although Hui Ming had an extremely high aptitude for Buddhism, he was a mortal without a spirit root. He couldn't become a cultivator. Later, a Buddhist cultivator from Huatian Temple came to teach him. When he saw Hui Ming's Buddhist cultivation, he was shocked. He immediately taught him the Vajra tactic that was announced by the body refining pavilion and brought it back to Huatian Temple. The little monk's cultivation speed of the Vajra tactic was average. He cultivated for 20 years and entered the martial saint realm at the age of 50. Then, he spent another 30 years to refine his sternum to large success. At that time, the war with the demon race had just ended, and Li Qianfeng had just entered Huatian Temple. With the help of this bone transformation stage body cultivator, many mortal monks of Huatian Temple had successfully integrated with the tool spirit root. Hui Ming was one of them. At first, Li Qianfeng didn't pay much attention to this little monk. In his opinion, a person who had only fused with a tool spirit root in his 80s was considered inferior. It should be known that the most talented mortal martial artist in the body refining pavilion used less than 30 years to cultivate from the first level of the Vajra scripture to the great circle of the sternum. However, he did not expect that after Hui Ming fused with the devil elixir item spiritual root, he would display an unparalleled talent in Buddhism cultivation. He was stuck at the limit of his lifespan and entered the early stage of foundation establishment. He did not even use the foundation establishment elixir. According to Abbot Ji Yuan's explanation, Hui Ming was born with wisdom and a pure heart. He did not need to chant the great spiritual King Buddha's name and could easily resist the inner demons produced by the Buddhist cultivation method. Naturally, his cultivation speed would increase by leaps and bounds. 150 years had passed, and this little monk had cultivated from the qi refining stage all the way to the late core formation stage. At the same time, he also cultivated blood essence and demonic energy. This terrifying cultivation speed was even more astonishing than the great spiritual King Buddha's. Li Qianfeng and Abbot Ji Yuan both believed that Hui Ming could cultivate the dual body and energy cultivation method to an extremely high level. After all, besides the risk of blood essence and demonic energy, the greatest difficulty of this cultivation method was the long cultivation time. Without an extraordinary cultivation speed, there was no way to cultivate these two cultivation methods to a high level. Seeing Li Qianfeng staring at Hui Ming, Abbot Ji Yuan lightly coughed and said, "Fellow Taoist Li, the demonic energy source of these elixirs came from the demon realm's newly born level 2 demonic weapons. Can we use the grade of the raw materials to classify the demonic energy elixirs?" Li Qianfeng returned to his senses and said with certainty, "Of course we can. The batch we just refined can be called Level 2 demonic energy elixirs, and so on. Level 2 to Level 4 demonic energy elixirs can be absorbed by the Foundation establishment stages blood essence and demonic energy. Level 5 to Level 7 demonic energy elixirs correspond to the crystallization stages blood essence and demonic energy." Speaking up to here, he pondered for a moment and said, "However, these demonic energy elixirs can only be absorbed by dual body and energy cultivators. They can be used to quickly increase their blood essence and demonic energy. They are useless to orthodox body cultivators. But if we can research Level 8 demonic energy elixirs, then it will be different. The demonic energy source of the demon generals can greatly increase the cultivation speed of bone transformation stage body cultivators." Hui Ming had already put away the 10 fist-sized elixirs. Hearing this, his eyes lit up and he said, "Seniorly, according to the dual body and energy cultivation method, when one reaches the spirit-severing stage, one's body can be cultivated to the level of bone transformation stage body cultivators?" Li Qianfeng shook his head and said, "Bone transformation stage body cultivators have the power of their body. This special power, blood essence and demonic energy, can only be produced by swallowing the entire body. But if the body is swallowed, then I'm afraid the Dantian will no longer exist. This special cultivation method that the Pavilion Master and Great Elder deduced can only be cultivated to the peak of the treasure bone realm, but, speaking up to here, he glanced at the burly monk in front of him and said, "But currently, among the Buddhist disciples who practice this cultivation method, the highest level of body cultivation is only the bone tempering stage. If a disciple cultivates to the treasure bone realm, the Pavilion Master may be able to deduce the follow-up cultivation method under his research." Hearing this, Hui Ming's chest puffed out. Then he put his palms together and said with a compassionate expression, "Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, if I don't go to hell, who will? Let me, Hui Ming, try this difficult." Halfway through his words, the burly monk's expression suddenly froze. His eyes flashed with some doubt and he said, "Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, Great Spirit Monarch Buddha?" After that, Hui Ming seemed to have discovered something and he unconsciously murmured, "Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, Great Spirit Monarch Buddha." He kept chanting the name of Great Spirit Monarch Buddha. The spiritual power of the late core formation stage in his body began to surge. His body subconsciously sat cross-legged, and his soul surged in his mind. Hui Ming? Seeing this scene, Abbot Ji Yuan felt a little strange. He also subconsciously chanted, "Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, Great Spirit Monarch Buddha." Just as he finished chanting, the face of the Great Spirit Monarch Buddha cultivator suddenly changed. He also sat cross-legged like Hui Ming. Not only was the spiritual power in his body surging, but the benevolence in his body also soared into the sky, bringing about circles of heaven and earth yuan qi halos in the cave. "You guys," Li Qianfeng looked at this scene in a daze. He didn't understand what was going on. These two Buddhist cultivators seemed to have suddenly gone mad. Their palms were clasped together, their eyes were closed, and they kept chanting the name of Great Spirit Monarch Buddha. Deng deng deng, Li Qianfeng's cultivation was only at the peak of the early bone transformation stage. He was pushed back by the violent heaven and earth yuan qi. He had no choice but to leave the cave. He only managed to get a few hundred feet away. Strange, the heaven and earth yuan qi doesn't seem to have impacted Hui Ming. He looked at Hui Ming, who was beside Abbot Ji Yuan, with a strange expression. There seemed to be a layer of special energy around the body of this strong monk that blocked the heaven and earth yuan qi. Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, Great Spirit Monarch Buddha. At this moment, Li Qianfeng's body suddenly stiffened. He left the cave and discovered that in the mountain range where Huatian Temple was located, the name of Great Spirit Monarch Buddha reverberated everywhere. It was as if there were countless monks chanting scriptures. He spread out his spiritual sense, and his expression became more and more frightened. What's going on? All the Buddhist disciples seem to have gone mad. Every monk's spiritual sense has a strange movement. It's as if there's a special spiritual energy wrapped around them. Just as these questions appeared in Li Qianfeng's mind, the countless people chanting the name of Buddha suddenly stopped. The echoes in the mountain range also seemed to disappear in an instant. He couldn't help but look at the entrance of the cave behind him. He saw Monk Hui Ming sitting on the ground with a shocked expression. As for Abbot Ji Yuan, his face was filled with horror. "Master Abbot, what happened?" Abbot Ji Yuan heard Li Qianfeng's voice and seemed to sober up a little. He once again chanted the name of Great Spirit Monarch Buddha, but he only chanted it 3 or 4 times before stopping. His face became incomparably pale as he muttered, "Senior Great Spirit Monarch Buddha has fallen." Chapter 1399. Broken Country, North Pole Mountain Range. The Yuan Qi of heaven and earth roiled between the icy blue mountains and rivers. Dazzling white halos of light gushed out from the dense spatial cracks in the sky. They were like white ribbons that fell towards the center of the mountain range. The demonic Yuan Qi at the bottom of the mountain was like a giant black snake. They shuttled through the crisscrossing demon abyss and finally seeped into a cave that was embedded in the cliff of the demon abyss. Lu Kuan's eyes were closed as he stood quietly in the hall. Rich demon spirit Yuan Qi rushed into his body from 2 directions, merging into a golden halo of Yuan Qi in a radius of 10 feet around his body. The merged dual attribute Yuan Qi rushed into his body. After an unknown period of time, the ring of golden Yuan Qi around his body suddenly trembled. The energy that absorbed the Yuan Qi seemed to have changed. The surrounding Yuan Qi slightly stagnated and the speed at which it gathered slowed down. What's going on? Lu Kuan's consciousness was immersed in his dantian as he stared blankly at the circular bloodline nucleus in his bloodline pool. Compared to 100 years ago, this bloodline rune had already grown by 3 times. It formed the shape of a large ring, but at this time, it was violently twisting and trembling, as if it was in an extremely unstable state. I just completed the condensation of another will bond. Could it be that the length has reached a certain limit, causing the ring structure to become unstable? Just as Lu Kuan was pondering, a small section of the large circular spiral suddenly began to twist and rotate under the influence of some kind of power, folding downwards. The twisting of the bloodline rune was completed almost instantly. The originally large double spiral suddenly twisted into 2 rings, one large and one small. The small ring was 30 to 40 times smaller than the large ring and looked extremely small. Ring folding. Lu Kuan stared blankly at this scene. The scene just now was like a ring woven with 2 rope. Its shape would twist as the length of the ring increased. In the depths of his double spiral bloodline rune, there was an even more terrifying blood core force. In order to maintain the stability of the large ring structure, it spontaneously twisted and overlapped, forming the appearance of the large and small spiral. The double spiral is folding and rotating again, forming multiple rings. Isn't this a super spiral structure? Lu Kuan muttered to himself as he looked at the strange structure. He had studied exercise physiology and had some knowledge of biology. This strange spiral superposition structure was a high-level structure of circular DNA in his memory. Buzz, as soon as this name flashed through Lu Kuan's mind, the bloodline pool in his body began to shake. Even the surrounding islands of his 5 viscera began to swell and shrink slightly. What happened this time? Why is my power? He suddenly realized that his physical strength was declining bit by bit. he immediately turned his gaze to the folded bloodline rings. The two rings were radiating bloodline god art waves. Because they overlapped each other, the two types of radiation of the same origin intertwined, and the radiation waves suddenly became chaotic. The islands outside the bloodline pool seemed to be unable to receive such distorted radiation. The fluctuations that were reflected into the sea of blood essence grew weaker and weaker. My strength is no longer enough for dual elemental energy, Lu Kuan hurriedly urged the microscopic source power, trying to bend the folded double spiral into the same plane. However, as the invisible force surged, the structure of the large and small rings only shook a little before becoming still. The structure of the large and small rings was actually more stable than before. The blood nuclei of the spiral main chain are connected by the blood core force. When it was a ring-like structure, the stability of the runes mainly relied on the will bond. Now that it has folded into two rings, part of the stability comes from the torsion force generated by the blood core force. Now is not the time to analyze. The decline of my strength has no intention of stopping. It has already dropped to 3 million gene. If it is lower than 1 elemental energy, I won't be able to manifest my internal organs and dantian. When that time comes, since the microscopic source power won't work, I'll use the 6 ear runes to cut off the extra part. While he was thinking, the blood nuclei and internal organs in the bloodline pool quickly gathered. Soon, 2 6-ear runes were skillfully condensed and formed. They were like flowers with 6 crescent-shaped blades, falling towards the intersection point of the big and small rings. The 2 blood nuclei there dried up at a speed visible to the naked eye. Then, the microscopic source power turned into an invisible knife and slashed fiercely. At this moment, Lu Kuan suddenly felt an intense tearing sensation in his soul. Not good, my soul is going to be split. He resisted the discomfort and used all his strength to retract his soul from the small ring back to the large ring. Then, the large and small rings were completely cut apart. A wave of terrifying radiation energy surged out. The terrifying energy impacted his internal organs and spread to his blood essence sea. Lu Kuan then found that this energy was being absorbed by his physical body, and his strength was raised to dual elemental energy. Even so, he didn't relax at all. Under the control of his microscopic source power, the blood nuclei and the golden internal organs surged towards the rupture of the large ring and began to repair it in a golden light. As for the other small circle, the chain of will in the middle of the circle trembled as if it was about to split apart after losing its bloodline and primordial spirit. Not good. The small bloodline ring is also a kind of bloodline nuclear fission. Lu Kuan was alarmed, but his energy was all focused on repairing the large ring, and he didn't have time to react. Bo! A soft sound was heard. Unexpectedly, after the small ring broke into 2 chains, there was only a very slight fluctuation that wasn't even as strong as the passive radiation. Lu Kuan was stunned. Is it because the small ring is too small? It only has 9 spirals, and it's a dozen times smaller than the initial ring that entered the internal organs. Fission reactions are produced by the splitting of large masses of atomic nuclei. This small ring doesn't belong to the category of large masses? Lu Kuan was deep in thought as he looked at the small ring that had split apart. It had become 2 short chains, one with an outer fiber inner skeleton, and the other with an outer fiber inner skeleton. Both of them were lined with short rods of will with special patterns. These 2 short chains didn't have any special fluctuations and floated quietly in the bloodline pool. As time passed, the large bloodline ring completed its repair. Lu Kuan heaved a sigh of relief when he felt the berserk magical power fluctuations again. Cultivation in the internal organs stage is really dangerous. If I'm not careful, my realm will drop. But if I don't cultivate my bloodline, there's no way to improve. Looking at the ring of bloodline that was shorter, he was somewhat depressed. The bloodline atomic nucleus is 3 times larger, and the strength of my internal organs has also increased by quite a bit. However, the intensity of the bloodline radiation hasn't changed, and the power is still dual elemental power. The superspiral phenomenon that just appeared means that the bloodline atomic nucleus of this ring structure has been cultivated to the limit. If it continues, the ring will fold and conflict with the bloodline radiation will occur, causing the power to decline. My primordial spirit and consciousness have grown quite a bit, but I don't feel that I'm at the limit of my current realm. This means that my cultivation is still very far from the peak of the internal organs stage. The cultivation of the bloodline runes is stuck. How can I continue to cultivate? Lu Kuan felt a wave of confusion. He pondered for a long time, but still didn't have much of a clue, so he left the cultivation state. It's already been more than 100 years. I wonder how the disciples are doing. Then, a spirit light flashed in his hand, and a few sound transmission jade talismans appeared. He began to check them one by one. Brother Hong's cultivation speed is very fast. He entered the late devil change realm more than 40 years ago. I wonder what's the difference between this realm and body cultivation. Little Yun has also broken through to the late devil change realm. This kid actually thought of such a wonderful method. He had 3 nascent soul stage sword cultivators use the imperial sword technique to control his blood and use the sharp metal energy to help him break through the blood-bone barrier. Not bad, not bad. Little Yen is stuck at the peak of the middle bone transformation realm. His bones have fused with the mysterious yellow energy, and his toughness is probably even more terrifying than mine. It seems that I have to give him a hand. Er's cultivation speed is very fast. He has already reached the peak of the 10th level silver armored corpse. He can break through to the metal armored corpse realm at any time. After reading this, Lu Kuan felt somewhat relieved. The disciple's progress was better than he had imagined. Then, he took out a token-shaped message talisman and checked the information inside. Elder Yu failed to break through to the false divine transformation realm. His soul was torn to shreds by the sharp intent and he died. After reading the first message, Lu Kuan couldn't help but fall silent. After a while, he sighed and said, "Even with the fusion of the sharp intent, breaking through to this realm is extremely difficult. Back then, Taoist Dao Yi failed, and Brother Yu also didn't succeed." His mood couldn't help but become heavy. It was already so difficult for cultivators to break through to the false divine transformation realm. The difficulties faced by body cultivators would only be greater. The suppression between heaven and earth has increased. There is still 100 years left. A few thoughts flashed through Lu Kuan's mind. He continued to look at the message talisman. The Bai and Dragon King and the 3-headed dragon led the sea race into the depths of the sea. They didn't have any conflicts with the human race. At least they know what's good for them. The body refining pavilion has a total of 187 bone treasure stage body cultivators. Among them, there are 31 late bone treasure stage body cultivators. They are all waiting for the opening of the Yuan secret realm and preparing to break through to the bone transformation realm. I didn't expect the backbone of the body refining pavilion to be so strong. Calculating the time, I'm already over 700 years old. The Yuan secret realm still has more than 40 years to open. I wonder how many disciples will successfully enter the bone transformation realm this time. Lu Kuan sighed and continued to read. The Buddhist sect is actively cultivating the dual cultivation method. There are already disciples who have cultivated their bodies to the bone-tempering realm. This little monk called Hui Ming's cultivation speed is actually so fast. At this moment, the token-shaped jade talisman suddenly lit up. Lu Kuan was stunned. When he saw the news inside, his face suddenly changed. What? The great spiritual Lord Buddha has fallen. Chapter 1400. At the intersection of the ancient spirit state, Huatian state, and Zhongming Mountain in the Great Zhou dynasty was the most prosperous Tianyuan market in the cultivation world. There were teleportation spell formations that led to various immortal cultivation countries. Almost every month there would be an auction. Precious materials and treasures from all over the immortal cultivation world would appear. Even nascent soul stage cultivators, who were usually nowhere to be seen, would appear here. Although there were a shocking number of nascent soul stage cultivators, no one dared to act presumptuously in the Tianyuan market. Everyone knew that this place was jointly owned by the strongest sex in the cultivation world. This was especially true for the Southwest Chamber of Commerce that organized the auction. Behind them was Master Lu, the strongest cultivator in the cultivation world. Not to mention ordinary nascent soul stage cultivators, even late-stage cultivators would not dare to act presumptuously here. On this day, in the depths of the Tianyuan market, at the top of the Southwest Chamber of Commerce's pavilion, two cultivators were sitting in an exquisite pavilion. One of them was a burly man with short hair. He was Master Lu, who was rumored to be a miraculous figure by the cultivators outside. The other person was Abbot Zhiyuan. He held a string of Buddhist beads in his hand and chanted Buddhist scriptures in a low voice. Although he looked a little haggard and his body had lost a lot of weight, his consciousness was extremely active. Even the will of compassion lingered around him. Master Abbot, your consciousness seems to be spontaneously condensing a primordial spirit. You can enter the pseudo-soul formation stage at any time. Could it be related to the abnormal behavior of Buddhist cultivators? Also, Lu received news that all Buddhist cultivators in the cultivation world are behaving strangely. They are constantly chanting the name Great Spiritual King Buddha. Hearing Lu Kuan's words, Abbot Zhiyuan sighed softly and said, "To be honest, I don't know what's going on either. When I chanted the name Great Spiritual King Buddha, my soul entered a miraculous state of resonance. Every time I chanted a sentence, my soul would become more concentrated and pure. This feeling was as if all the Buddhist disciples had crossed over and were discussing Buddhism together. This caused a special resonance to occur in my soul." At this point, he hesitated and said, "Although all the other Buddhist disciples had the same feeling, I saw a special illusion." Illusion? Abbot Zhiyuan recalled the scene at that time and muttered, "When the souls resonated, the power of all the Buddhist cultivators' souls resonated and gathered towards this old monk, causing this old monk's soul to undergo a temporary sublimation in an instant." In a trance, I saw a golden Buddha statue that was at least 10 feet tall standing in the clouds. The face of this illusion was the face of the great spiritual King Buddha recorded in the Buddhist sect. The illusion of the great spiritual King Buddha? Abbot Zhiyuan nodded, then sighed and said, "Yes. Unfortunately, this old monk only saw this golden Buddha statue for a short while before it turned into a sky full of golden light and completely exploded. It was also at that time that all Buddhist cultivators broke away from the state of soul resonance. At this point, Abbot Zhiyuan placed his palms together and said, "Amitabha, great spiritual Lord Buddha, after this old monk chanted this Buddhist mantra, I no longer had the effect of restraining my mind. This Buddhist senior has completely fallen." Lu Kuan murmured. The 10 feet tall golden Buddha statue exploded into a sky full of golden light? Have you sensed anything else? Abbot Zhiyuan rubbed his temples and sighed softly. "Master Lu, this old monk has been constantly recalling the scene at that time. Other than the momentary illusion, there was nothing else." The other Buddhist disciples also only experienced the feeling of soul resonance. They did not see any illusions. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and asked, "It caused your souls to resonate. Are the cultivation techniques of the Buddhist cultivators in the immortal cultivation world all passed down by the great spiritual King Buddha?" Abbot Zhiyuan nodded and sighed. At the end of the ancient times, The heaven and earth Yuan Qi was mixed and Buddhism had withered. Only by cultivating the cultivation techniques of the great spiritual King Buddha could one achieve something. Lu Kuan said, in other words, the great spiritual King Buddha used a special soul mystic technique. This mystic technique is so powerful that it can even connect with you across world. When Abbot Ji Yuan heard this, he suddenly thought of something and said, by the way, Master Lu, at that time, all the Buddhist cultivators' souls had a feeling of leaving their bodies. It was as if they were attracted by something. However, this force was extremely weak. If we did not pay attention to it, we would not have noticed it. Lu Kuan pondered and said, the power of the world is extremely powerful. If all of you have this feeling, then the influence of the Buddhist cultivators in the upper realm will be many times stronger. In other words, the great spiritual King Buddha's mystic technique condensed the souls of a large number of Buddhist cultivators. What kind of Buddhist mystic technique is this? Abbot Ji Yuan rubbed the Buddhist beads in his hand and slowly said, this kind of soul resonance phenomenon usually occurs when several Buddhist cultivators are comprehending some kind of Buddhist truth together during meditation and discussion. This kind of soul phenomenon will occur. However, this mystic technique of the great spiritual King Buddha has an additional attraction to the soul. Speaking of this, his expression suddenly changed and he said, could it be that the senior used the soul resonance force of the Buddhist disciples to try to break through to the void refinement realm but failed? The great spiritual King Buddha has spent more than 700 years in the upper realm. With his top aptitude, it's entirely possible that he has cultivated to the great perfection of the soul formation realm. When Lu Kuan heard this, he showed a puzzled expression and said, but Master Abbot, aren't the Buddhist disciples merciful? Why does the great spiritual King Buddha's mystic technique not only has the soul resonance effect, but it also has the effect of absorbing souls? If that's the case, wouldn't the Buddhist cultivators in the upper realm who were affected by it all die? Abbot Ji Yuan shook his head and said, the great spiritual King Buddha would never do anything to the Buddhist disciples. Not only the Buddhist disciples, as long as it's the human race, this senior will not kill them. The soul absorbed by the mystic technique will definitely be spat out. Just like this old monk, just by looking at the golden Buddha statue, my soul and will have the tendency to condense into a primordial spirit. This mystic technique will definitely be more beneficial to the other Buddhist cultivators in the upper realm. When Lu Kuan heard this, although he believed in Abbot Ji Yuan's judgment, he still felt a little strange. It seemed that the great spiritual King Buddha's vision was not as simple as a breakthrough. However, they had too little information and could not make other inferences. Abbot Ji Yuan did not know what Lu Kuan was thinking. He sighed softly and said, ever since the great spiritual King Buddha ascended to the upper realm, he has lived for less than 1,600 years. Even with such a talented aptitude, he still hasn't entered the void refinement realm. This shows that there's a huge bottleneck in this realm. Lu Kuan also sighed and said, that's right. If we want more void refinement realm cultivators to appear, we must fill it with a large number of soul formation realm cultivators. If we can ascend again, our upper realm where the flow of time is different will be the biggest reliance of the human race. Abbot Ji Yuan put his palms together and bowed to Lu Kuan. This is all thanks to Master Lu. Not only did you resist the invasion of the devil race, but you also allowed the false soul formation realm cultivators to have the possibility of ascension. Lu Kuan sighed softly and said, don't be in a hurry to thank me. Currently, I'm the only body cultivator in the Zongyuan realm. If there's no new body cultivator to replace me, I'm afraid the immortal cultivation world will return to its original state. Lu will have no choice but to ascend in 100 years. During this period of time, he will do his best to cultivate the next generation of body cultivators. I hope that the body refining pavilion can be passed down forever and continuously send soul formation realm cultivators to the upper realm. Abbot Ji Yuan said slowly, Master Lu is right. The inheritance of the human race is the most important thing. After obtaining the opportunity of the great spiritual King Buddha, my spirit and will automatically condense into a primordial spirit. I can try to break through to the soul formation realm. However, a new Buddhist name must be born. Otherwise, the disciples of the Buddhist sect will often be attacked by their inner demons, and the chances of them going berserk will greatly increase. Lu Kuan said in surprise. Lu heard that only the orthodox soul formation realm cultivators have such an effect on their Buddhist name. Could it be that Abbot has found the orthodox way to break through? Abbot Ji Yuan smiled and said, This is all thanks to Master Lu. After the broken country was divided into the devil spirit region, the devil spirit vital qi became extremely pure. The sky above the Guiyuan River, where the restriction formation is located, is the intersection of the two types of vital qi. 100 years ago, it wasn't particularly obvious. Now, the devil spirit vital qi there is similar to the environment where the great spiritual King Buddha broke through. I see. In that case, would Abbot need Lu's help for your breakthrough? Abbot Ji Yuan put his palms together and said, Shanzai, Shanzai. Thanks to Master Lu, the cultivation world is now peaceful. The other pseudo-soul formation realm cultivators are preparing to follow Master Lu and ascend. They have long lost the will to fight. Thus, I can break through without any worries. There is no need for Master Lu to help. Lu Kuan nodded and said, Then I wish Abbot success. Shanzai, great spiritual King Buddha. Master Lu, I will take my leave. Abbot Ji Yuan chanted a Buddhist name. Spiritual light flashed in his body, and he turned into a streak of light and shot out of the heaven origin market. Lu Kuan watched as Abbot Ji Yuan disappeared into the sky and said softly, There are still 150 years left. I have to follow the plan and speed up the cultivation of the disciples and increase the strength of the body refining pavilion. He turned his head and looked in the direction of the middle underworld mountain and said, The first step is to help Ener break through to become a metal elite zombie. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.